Another edition of the RF Video Shoot interview series. Today we're joined by a true legend in the sport of professional wrestling, B. Brian Blair. Thanks for being here today with us.
Thank you, Rob.
No problem. My very first question to you would be, were you a wrestling fan growing up?
No, absolutely. We used to go to the Armory on Tuesday nights. God, I remember it was packed and it was hot, and we'd watch Eddie Graham and the Great Malenko, and I mean, it was awesome. I remember this one time particularly that the Great Malenko was going to fight Eddie Graham, and it was I think it was a loser leave town match or something like that, and Malenko had this alarm clock for some reason, and it was ticking, and finally at the end he said, "And Eddie Graham, let me tell you, when this alarm goes off, your time is up and you are out of Tampa." And he hit a button or something in his deep Russian voice, and the alarm clock went ding. He said, your time is up. And it was just like when we were kids, it was magic. Oh God, Dusty Rhodes, all the guys, Jack Briscoe, all the guys. It was a blast.
So what part of Florida did you grow up at?
Tampa.
Tampa, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you, I guess as a little kid, know that you wanted to be a wrestler when you grew up, or was that something that you didn't know until you got older?
Well, to tell you the truth, a lot of people don't know this. First time I went to Big People's Church, the sermon was on the power of prayer. So I remember sitting on that front row, and the pastor was really dynamic, and he said, if you're an earnest and a righteous person, God's going to answer your prayer. And as a kid, I thought, wow, that's pretty heavy. I really like that. And I was about 9.5, 10 years old, and I thought, well, got home, anxious to get home. Did I want $1 million? Kept going all through my head. What did I want to pray for? I got, what are they going to do with a 9 or 10-year-old with $1 million? I go to the bank and wouldn't know what to do. And then I love Corvettes. I didn't know if I wanted a red one or a blue one, so I prayed. I'll pray for 2 of them. And then I thought, man, I don't have a driver's license. I can't drive. And finally, bingo, it hit me. I knew what I wanted to pray to be. So I got down, closed my eyes, got on my knees, and I said, dear God, please make me Superman. I want to be Superman. So I prayed to be Superman, and I'd look in the mirror and nothing had happened. About a year goes by, I tell Billy Kempinski and this guy on my block, and he says, oh, you're a fool, man. Superman lives on TV. He wears a costume, and man, that'll never happen. So lo and behold, what happens? I never got the red cape. I used to hit my head against the wall. It still hurt. I'd look at my muscles. They'd never grow. I couldn't fly. I'd jump off the bed. Nothing would happen. And But lo and behold, I got to run the ring ropes like a speeding bullet. I was able to leapfrog a man with a single bound. I was able to have a 300-pound man jump on my chest, and I'm here to live to tell you about it today. And I did wear a costume. It just happened to be black and yellow. So the moral of the story is be careful what you pray for. You just might get it. That's
true. What was your college background growing up?
Well, you asked me too right before that, Rob, what motivated me to be a professional wrestler. My mom and dad, a lot of people don't know, they got divorced when I was like 12 years old, 13 years old, right in there, and I fell in love with wrestling, and I fell in love with Jack Briscoe. He was my hero, and one day I got caught taking food stamps to the grocery store. We were getting Spam, powdered eggs, all these things in school, and it was really, a drag. And I wanted to go to the U-Save, and Sly Avenue was real busy, and I would have had to cross Sly Avenue. My mom didn't want me to go. So I said, Mom, please let me go to the grocery store. I want to go to the grocery store. And she said, son, I just don't want you to cross the road. It's too busy. And then one day she said, you want to go to the grocery store? And I said, she said, all by yourself? And I said, yeah, man, I was excited. So I was excited to go to the grocery store. It was that big of a deal, after eating the prunes and Spam, I'm going to get me some chicken. And I went to the grocery store, and but before I did, I'm waiting for the money, and she hands me these coupons, and she said, son, these are food coupons. You give these to the lady, and she's going to give you a voucher back, a little piece of paper. And I said, okay. Didn't set too good, but I didn't say anything. Went through the grocery store, got some other things that I wanted that she allowed me to get, And I get in the line, and Steven Epperson, who was a sixth grader then, I was a fifth grader, and two of these big bad bully redneck guys were in line with him, and they just wanted to, when I pulled out, the lady asked me for the money. I gave her the food stamp coupons, and boy, they started in on me. And I just walked and left the store. Didn't say anything, didn't tell my mom. The next day I go to the store. This was at Egypt Lake Elementary School. And my mom dropped me off about 100 yards. I always kiss my mom. I love my mom so much. She lives in my guest house. But I kissed my mom. She'd send me $10 to get in college too all the time, so we could go to White Castle, Crystal, thinking about all those old times now. But she kissed me. I got out of the car, started walking toward the school, and there's a big congregation of people all in front of Egypt Lake Elementary School. And I went and I just about got there, and they go, "Look, there he is, there he is, there he is." And I heard people laughing, and I looked, and it said, "Blair is a," I don't even want to repeat the words. They were so bad, so I started crying, and I ran all the way home. I mean, I was just sick, like puking sick. And Mr. Agliano, he was a sixth grade teacher there. Well, he also taught some of fifth grade because I had one of his classes, but he was a predominantly sixth grade teacher because I had him the next year too, I remember. And he talked me into going back. And the next day he said, you just got to follow wise counsel. You got to pick out something you want to do. Just study hard. You're a good athlete. And maybe you'll be an athlete someday. Maybe you'll be an astronaut. I don't know, but you just keep going straight and do the best you can. And he had the words of wisdom that really put the desire and the discipline and the dedication in me. I saw Jack Driscoll on television, and I knew right then I wanted to be a wrestler.
Wow. So you went on to college too, right?
Yes, I did, on a football scholarship. I was originally going to go to University of Tampa, and they folded football because the Buccaneers came, and we would have played on Saturday nights, and they had competition on Sunday nights. And there's all kinds of conspiracy theories about why the Tampa Spartans disappeared, where Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, John Matuzak, Leon McQuaid, my good friend Freddie Solomon, all these guys played that were like heroes. I used to actually sell sodas in that stadium when I was a kid.
Wow. How did you actually get into the wrestling business? At what point did you make the transition?
Buddy Colt was a neighbor in the apartments I was in, and he knew that I was an amateur wrestler and a football player and an athlete. He needed a babysitter one time, and he asked me to babysit, and I babysit his kids and got to be friends. And I met Jack and Jerry Briscoe, and they kind of knew my situation, that I didn't have a lot of money, and they found some odd things for me to do. I think I waxed Jack's blue Lincoln Continental and washed it one time, and then they started going to my amateur wrestling matches, and Eddie Graham, and Michael and Steve Kern, and those older guys. And I every summer, right after my senior year of high school, I would go down and get stretched by Hiro Matsuda and a host of others, until I finally, being an amateur wrestler only is dangerous when you're around submission wrestlers.
Right.
So you set yourself up to be either double wrist locked or front face locked or whatever. Yeah, it was brutal. I remember one day, Hiro, the first 2 days I puked all over. I mean, I puked terrible, Rob, and it was horrible. And I was thinking to myself, I don't know how bad I want to be a wrestler. Because, back then they made you go through the mill. Of the 3 summers that I trained there, only 3 people made it, and that was myself. It was first Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, then myself and Hulk Hogan. And a bunch of other guys that are now in the business broke in somewhere else or came back and broke in with Hiro. But the third day, I remember I got done with everything, all my Hindu squats, my push-ups, my wrestling with Hiro. He knew I was drained. I rolled out onto the floor, and he just stared at me, and I didn't know what he was going to say. I was petrified of the man. And he kicked me in the shoulder. He goes, "Hey, young boy, why you no puke?" I said, well, Mr. Matsuda, to tell you the truth, I haven't eaten since the last time I threw up. And he started laughing, and ever since then, he liked me, and man, it was off to the races.
Did he actually try to break your ankle at one point?
That was Hogan. He tried to break everybody's ankle.
Right.
Yeah, that was his deal. I mean, you had to fight for your life, and all the people that wanted to be wrestlers would come in after we were ready. They thought we were ready, and they would put us to, with the guy that wanted to wrestle Dusty Rhodes, for example, Buddy Colt, his wife's, I guess it's his brother-in-law, because his wife's brother used to beat his wife up and his mom up, and I mean, this guy was crazy, and he came in and he wanted to wrestle Dusty Rhodes. He wanted a top match and all this. And they said, well, you go beat up the young kid Brian Blair first, and if you beat up Brian Blair, then you can have a match with Dusty Rhodes. So he wound up leaving. I remember Blackjack Mulligan was coming in, and he was left without his clothes, without anything, bleeding like crazy. And Blackjack said, God damn, he says, I don't know what you did, but excuse me, Lord, but I don't think that guy's going to be back. And it was kind of funny, in Blackjack's own way. So.
What was the biggest misconception you had on the business before you broke in?
That it was fake, because it's not fake. We all know that there's generally, although I've been in a lot of serious 6 shoots, what we call shoots, serious fights, and but there's a predetermined ending. But you don't get 300 stitches on your hand and bottles stabbed in your hand and your thumb all dislocated like that, and 3 fingers that won't close. I had a knee replacement, and, but actually that's the best thing in the world. That's I can actually catch, because I mentor kids and coach baseball, so I can actually catch the pitchers now, which is great. And, I've had so many stitches through my chin, my eyes. I don't know how many. It's definitely a brutal sport. And while I'm talking about that right now, Rob, these guys that are doing what they're doing right now, they don't realize when they get to be 40, 45, 50 years old, they're going to be hurting, because, I flew sometimes, but it was under control. You got a guy like Mick Foley who really started all that, set the bar higher and higher and higher until it's at that stage where, they're finally backing down, realizing that there's no life. These guys are going to be hurting.
Without a doubt. I guess when you were training, how much of the business was kayfabe to you at that point? Did they open up to you and then expose the business to you, or were you pretty much left in the dark for a little bit?
No, it was all kayfabe. Everything was kayfabe, right up until the rib they pulled on me when before my junior year of college. I didn't go back because they allowed me to referee in Jacksonville, and Don Curtis, God bless him, and his wife Dottie is wonderful people, and Eddie Graham needed somebody to referee, so there was Poffo, Angelo Poffo, and the Wolfman were wrestling each other in like the preliminary match, so they sent me out there to referee, and I said, well, what do I do? And they said, well, you wrestle when the shoulders are down, count to 3. So I said, okay. So you've seen them, if they got 10 to break on the ropes, and they gave me the rules. And so anyway, somebody put their shoulders down. I counted to 3, and they got up, and they both grabbed me, and they said, you dumb son of a, you really messed the match up. Yeah, I can't believe you did this. And they made me feel about this big, and I knew they told me my career was over. The boys had it all set up. And so when I got back, they were all there laughing like crazy, and I took it like a man. So
now, I guess let's go back to Hulk Hogan. You talked about him earlier on. What are some of your early memories of Hogan from around this period of time?
My early memories, I used to sneak in a bar when he played with a band called Ruckus, and I'd watch him play the bass guitar, and I just thought he was a really cool dude, muscles. That was a good band. I was 16 years old. The drinking age was 18 then, so it was. I thought he was a good guy.
Could you tell?
Still do.
Could you tell he had something special early on?
Absolutely, absolutely. When they put the mask on him and called him the Destroyer and beat him and beat him and beat him, it was the worst thing that whoever was booking then, calling the shots could have ever done. Because Hulkster had his first or second match with me. He might have worked with Matsuda the night before. And then him and I worked, and that was a rib too, because they told us to go 15-minute or 20-minute Broadway. So we had some things set up. And back then, we'd usually just wrestle, listen to the crowd. A little bit different psychology, old school psychology. And that's primarily what they wanted to teach you then. And also to make sure that everything was snug so nobody could see through anything, because you got people 4 feet away from you at ringside. 4 or 5 feet, whatever. And we hear 17 minutes gone, 3 minutes to go. So we go into all the high spots and the false finishes. 1, 2, 1, 2, kick out, kick out. Well, I'm huffing and puffing, and he pushes me in to the ropes for a roll up, and I reversed the roll up, and it was we had a time perfect. 1, 2. And it goes 20 minutes gone, 10 minutes to go. 20 minutes gone, 10 minutes to go. And I couldn't believe they did that to us. And we looked, and there they were, all the boys, both sides, baby face heels, looking straight at us, laughing their butts off. So.
That's great. What about, I guess, were you there the night that Hulk broke his ankle?
No, I wasn't. I was actually on the road because Terry quit for a little bit and came back, and then he became the sensation that really helped build the business that we know today.
Without a doubt. What about Ivan Koloff? You got to work with Ivan down there?
I had my first match with Ivan and Pat Patterson, Skip Young and I.
Right.
At 106 North Albany Street in Tampa, Florida, at the Sports Center, what did they call that? The Sportatorium. And there was an old guy there named Charlie Lay that used to give out the paychecks. And boy, the ribs that guys have pulled on me over the years, these old timers, are unbelievable. And I remember it was hot in that building, but that's where everything started. Ivan Koloff was a gentleman to me then. He's a gentleman. He'll be a gentleman till the day he's no longer seen, because he was there. I got in a shoot with Matt Bourne, and Ric Flair's here tonight. Ask him about it. He said this is the best fight he's ever seen. Matt Bourne sucker punched me, and I guess he thought I was flirting with his girlfriend or something at the time. And bingo, he just somebody hit me out of nowhere, and we wound up on the floor. I guess instinct kind of took over. Matt grabbed the side of my hair and my ears and tried to pull me down to bite my lip off. To bite my nose. When he did, I bit his lip off, the bottom of his lip, and spit his lip out. I remember having that flesh in my mouth. He's going to bite my nose off, so I bit his lip. You fight to win, and whatever it might take, especially after somebody sucker punches you like that. Matt has a lot of respect for me now, and I have a lot of respect for him. I've never initiated one of the fights I've gotten into. And I remember he tried to stick his finger in my eye, and the Russian bear, Ivan Koloff, kicked his hand off of my eye, and he said, "No eyes." And
wow. How soon did you spartan up to the business?
Well, it was that night in Jacksonville, obviously.
Right.
That was the first time I was smart. I remember actually asking Paul Orndorff. I lied to Paul. I said, "Paul, Hero told me that he was going to tell me all about the business today." So Paul said, "Oh, really?" And he said, "Yeah." So I think Paul maybe knew something I didn't know. And I said, "Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, he's going to." Because I knew there was no way that somebody could actually do this. I was already going through just stuff that people, I've done 2-a-day college football workouts, and they were nothing like what Matsuda put us through, nothing. And so I asked Paul to slam me. I said, "Would you slam me, Paul?" And he said, "Sure." So he picked me up and slammed me, and my back was out for 2 weeks. I'll never forget that. So,
Do you have any memories of your first match actually at all?
Absolutely.
What do you remember of your first match?
I remember the finish and everything. It was Skip Young and I against Ivan Koloff and Pat Patterson. Pat Patterson just came into town. What a fantastic psychologist Pat Patterson is. And we had a great match with them. They wound up throwing me out of the ring, and they double teamed Skip somehow. I think Ivan gave him the backbreaker, and Pat climbed up to the top rope and either dropped the elbow or the leg on him, spun him around, and they pinned him 1, 2, 3 while I was out on the concrete floor.
Who would you consider your early on mentor?
In which way?
As far as, I guess, one guy take you really under their wing.
Jack Briscoe.
Jack Briscoe? And that probably meant a lot to you.
And Buddy Colt. Yes.
And that probably meant a lot since you were, a huge fan of his too, right?
Oh, it's just unbelievable. When I was selling Cokes in the stadium, whoever thought I would meet Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff and Freddie Solomon, these guys that were fabulous football players. And they turned out to be, some of my best friends, Wade Boggs. Well, he's not a wrestler, but he's a huge wrestling fan. And, God bless the fans. If it wasn't for the fans, we wouldn't have nothing. And I love the wrestling fans. That's why I worked just as hard for 100 people or 93,000 like we had in the Pontiac Silverdome in WrestleMania 3. So, and then Paul Orndorff was, I got to be great friends with Paul. He's still one of my best friends. And he, wow. You guys know I'm running for office, so I got to be pretty cool right here.
That's cool.
So, Paul and I had a lot of good times together, and I'll never forget this one time. He said, "Ryan, whatever you do," because we ride everywhere together, just do everything. And we got a bunch of fights together. I don't know, we'd never started, but somehow we'd managed to get in these fights with these people that just wanted to, thought they could beat us up or something. And, I believe I'm not bragging. I'm a very humble guy. And we were in Little Rock, Arkansas, and we had just got done. This big guy, about 6'6", was at the Pizza Hut, the Shakey's Pizza Hut in Little Rock. He kept staring at Paul. And I said, "Paul, that big guy's staring at you, bro. That guy can lift big time logs. I bet he can chop some wood." We were going back about, the redneck country stuff. And I used to always love the farm and my grandfather's. But I went to play pinball. And Paul was talking to these two girls. One of the girls got up and went over by the pinball machine and started talking to me. And while I was playing pinball, I really didn't, it was not a big deal. Wasn't going to kiss her or take her anywhere or whatever. And all of a sudden I saw something fly by my eye, and I heard the loudest noise by my ear. And the big country guy was getting ready to hit me. It was me that he was looking at. He thought I was messing with his girlfriend again. One of those stories. And Paul Orndorff hit him with the left hand so hard, we left Shakey's, and he was still laid out. He had never woken up. The ambulance hadn't got there. Nobody had gotten there. And so we left. And he hit his head. We didn't know, Paul killed the guy or what. So we got in the car, and we were going to the next town, and we're going through the Ozark Mountains. And Paul's getting sleepy, and he's kind of dozing off, and he's getting sleepy, and he wake up, and he's going, "Please, Brian, please be careful, please." He goes, "I got to get just a little bit of sleep. You got to be really, really careful." He kept saying it over and over and over. So I said, "Okay, bro." And all of a sudden I hear him. So when he did that, I saw we were heading down this mountain, and you could see all these lights in front of us. The big town was way down at the bottom of the mountain. So I got right up to the end of the mountain. I could see both ways, that there was no cars coming. I got right up to the end, and I went about 10 miles an hour and slammed on the brakes and hit the top of the roof. And I went, "Ah!" And Paul jumped up, and his head hit the roof, and he was going, "Ah!" He kept going and going and going because he thought we were falling. Oh, God, it was great. It was so funny. Oh, it was hot. I'm glad he didn't hit me. So anyway.
What are your memories of Eddie Graham, who everybody that we talked to said, pretty much one of the brightest minds in the business?
Eddie Graham was a tremendous psychologist. I remember flying in his airplane many, many times. His call letters were 69 Echo Golf, 69 Eddie Graham. And his twin Beechcraft, I'd fly in the front because I was really interested in trying to learn how to fly at that time. And the other guys that drive in the back, whether it was Don Morocco, Briscoe Brothers, Dusty Rhodes, all the different guys that came through Florida, which was the hotbed of wrestling really at that time, Florida, New York, Minneapolis. The time that he would take to show me, I could have actually landed the plane if something ever happened. And the guys really liked that because they'd be afraid sometimes, Eddie might
Be drinking.
might be drinking, exactly. So everybody knew Eddie liked to drink, and but I never saw him drink while he was flying. And we were in plenty of storms where that man was a heck of a pilot, where I thought for sure something was going to happen. I saw Dusty puke. I saw Briscoe's puke. Everybody back there was puking, and I didn't want to lose my lunch in front of Eddie. I had that much respect for the man. He was just great. He was a tremendous guy. Great guy. Buddy Colt made me get juice before I could have my first match and go up and show Eddie. And I'll never forget Eddie laughing at me and said, "Good job, kid."
Nice. What do you remember the first time you had a gig?
Scared. Very scared. But, Buddy Colt fixed a razor for me. When I looked at it, I could tell he's got to be kidding me. And so I kind of got my backside toward him a little bit, and I just hit a little bit and waited to see some blood come down, and all of a sudden I just bit my teeth and boom, hit it one time and blood started gushing out, and they were happy. So,
what about Dusty Rhodes? You mentioned him earlier on. What are some of your early memories of Dusty, and did you get along with him?
Dusty's probably the most impersonated guys in the business. I always think about Dusty, the Virgil Riley Reynolds, son of a plumber. I got along great with Dusty. I remember, we'd all do Dusty Rhodes interviews, so I'll do one of mine. I said, he used to say something along the lines of, I wined and dined with kings and queens, and I slept in alleys, and I've eaten pork and beans. And I've been to the top of the mountain, and when I was at the top of the mountain, I stared down and I saw the shadow of the valley of death. Because Pac Thong, I know you wanted to kick my butt. You are the shadow of death. But let me tell you something, Tuesday night in the Armory, Pac Thong, when you come to me, you ain't going to be nothing but jello. Because I looked to the left of me and I saw my man Rob from RW Video. And then I looked to the right of me and I saw the fans just a cheering. And I looked up above and I saw the Lord himself, and he said, Dusty Dream, have no mercy on Pac Thong, because I got a place for him, but it ain't up here. So anyway, he was great. I used to love imitating Dusty and watching him. In Florida, everything was built on solid hardcore wrestling. Eddie Graham built that territory. That's why it was always hot. People believed wrestling was real. And, that's why wrestling's so great, because a good worker will take that extra bit of punishment to be there, so that person in the first row, he doesn't see any daylight between that headlock. He doesn't see a punch missed by 2 inches. You pop each other and you hit them in the right places, and sometimes it hurts. You stand there and get chopped. It's brutal. So anyway, I just wanted to get that in.
All right. No, when you went over to Central States before you went over to that territory, do you have any other fond memories of Florida, or anything else that sticks out in your head that you want to talk about before you went over?
I remember going back to Dusty real quick. I remember his kids, Dustin and Cody, growing up. I remember Michelle, his wife. Dusty's he's got a great imagination. He's got tremendous vision, if you will, and Dusty's always been very, very nice to me, good man. So I just wanted to get that in there. A lot of people in the business will say they don't like this guy and they can't stand this guy, but
you got along with him?
Yeah, I got along with him very well.
Anything stand out about the Florida territory before we move on? Anything else you want to talk about?
I'll save the I saved the Stuckey's rib for RW video too.
We'll talk. It's actually RF video.
The RF video.
It's okay.
Thank you. RF video too.
What about Central States? You went on to work for Bob Geigel. What are your memories of working for Central States?
It sucked.
Why is that?
It was a long territory with not the only time you'd get a good payoff is when you went to St. Louis.
Right.
And the Briscoes would often be in St. Louis, so I liked going there. I'd see Ric Flair or somebody that I knew there. But the trips to Ottumwa, Iowa, the Tane Patton days, and being with Jesse for 6 months, Ventura, we hung out for 6 straight months, stayed in the same apartments. And Jesse and I became really close friends. And, when you sit with Jesse in Kansas City in an apartment, if you talk for an hour, you might talk for 10 minutes of that hour or 5 minutes. But he's entertaining. I mean, the guy is nonstop. And, he'd always chew tobacco, and he'd sit and he'd rock, always rocked like this. And, he'd get into some really, sometimes really off the wall conversations, but sometimes he was dead on. And I mean, he was a guy that he still is a guy that he's got a lot of brains. You may not think so when you listen to him sometime, but just to be the governor, nobody realizes how difficult that is. So when you talk about Kansas City, I remember Bob
Geigel?
Bob Geigel, and also the flat top guy. Oh man, he was my tag team partner. He's been everybody's tag team partner, and we were tag team champions there. Oh golly, I remember coming back from Malaysia that the Knobs and Sags were ribbing the heck out of him, and I told him to stop, because he was an older guy and they needed to have some respect for him, and they called him senile. So Cerility, if you ever see Knobs or Sags, just say Cerility and they'll just drop their jaw and wonder how you learned that word. And
who was your partner? I'm trying to think of what.
He had a son that started for a while, and he quit. He's dead now.
Not Lee McGurk, right?
No, Pat O'Connor owned the territory along with Bob Geigel, and there was one other partner. I forgot the other partner too, but not Moondog. Gosh darn it! Oh shoot, man,
okay.
That bothers me though that I can't think of his name right now. I'll come back to it in a second.
You also got to work with Harley Race. What are some of your memories of Harley from back in that territory?
Harley was he was a great mechanic, great psychologist, great mechanic. I remember driving with him in his Porsche one time, and the first time I ever rode with Harley and knew him for about a week, and he owned part of the Kansas City territory actually. And we're driving in his Porsche, white Porsche, going over 100 miles an hour, and he pulls out this gun, rolls the window down on my side, and he goes, "Look, Jackrabbit." Bam, blam, blam. He fires off 5 shots or 6 shots and about blows my eardrums off. I don't know if he hit the jackrabbit or not, but I was just shaking like this, like, I can't believe this. And then he kind of swerved off the road a little bit, and I thought that was, I'm going to finally meet my maker.
Yeah, everybody talks about him and his driving skills.
Oh, brutal, brother.
Who taught you how to do promos?
I would say that Eddie Graham probably had the biggest part in teaching me how to do promos. He wanted me to be the sincere. He felt my heart kind of like it's hard for me to even be a heel. I feel compassion for just about everybody. So it was more like not the Bob Backlund type, just type interview, but a little bit lively me. Just be me. He'd tell me, just be you. Put a little life in it, a little feeling in it. Think about the wrestling fans out there because they've got to feel it. They got to feel what you're feeling. They've got to feel what you're expressing, and you got to learn to sell tickets.
You also got to work for Bill Watts for a little bit, right?
Oh yeah.
What are your memories of Bill, and do you feel that he was a bully?
LW, I call him LW, Large William, and Watts used to have Grizzly Smith all around him all the time, and Grizzly was his number one stooge. And Bill never wanted me and Orndorff riding together. So he'd always ask somebody to catch me and Orndorff riding together. So one day, Shreveport TV, we're running late. Paul and I are together coming up 65 or whatever it is there from down in Baton Rouge. Heading up north to Shreveport. We were late to TV, so Bill fined us. I thought that was very prickish, to put it mildly, when the payoffs we were making. And that was his. He was the first guy that ever fined me. That's why I said that. I've been fined by other people too. That's
right.
The best way to hurt him's in the pocket, right? And Bill was very demanding, and that day we were late. Paul said we got our story straight, that his car broke down and it was at some gas station, and I picked him up. It was the only way there, and because Grizzly caught us riding together, saw us come into the thing together in my car, and but he still fined us. He didn't believe us.
How tough was that territory as far as travel?
Oh, I tell you, the longest trip I ever had to do, we used to do, we'd have like, we do Friday night. If I could go from Friday, would be Oklahoma City, and then we'd have to be in Shreveport, which is 400 miles south. We'd go to Shreveport, we'd do television, 2 or 3 tapes. Then we'd go to Jackson, Mississippi, the same Saturday, and Sunday was probably New Orleans. Then Monday we'd have to come up, usually maybe to Greenville, Mississippi, then back to Tulsa for Tuesday night. Wednesday night you might be up in Joplin, Missouri, or it was a long territory. But he started this thing where once a month we had to go from Shreveport to New Orleans. Not Shreveport. It was a 700-mile trip. I think it was Oklahoma City to New Orleans, and 700 miles, brother. Let me tell you, in a car to drive 700 miles, then get out. Hope you make it on time to get your boots on, just to get to the match.
Yeah, it's insane.
And make $100, $200, maybe $500. It just depended.
What are your memories of working in a Superdome early on in your career?
Oh, it was great. It was a rush, to be in, when you're in front of that many people, whether it's 10,000 or 50,000, or, and you're sitting there in a modified pair of underwear. It's humbling, but it's like, wow, you arrived when you get to the Superdome. That makes me think of Junkyard Dog, who I remember when the Freebirds burnt him and the big angle happened and the territory was on fire, man. Every place we went was sold out. It was great times.
Any other memories stand out for the Mid-South territory for you at all, or?
We'd be here all night, brother. But there's lots of things, I like Bill, and I still like Bill. He's a really, to me, Bill's a good guy no matter what. Ernie Ladd was the booker. Remember Ernie Ladd, God bless him, played for the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of people remember Ernie. Then he got involved politically as well. And I just remember, mostly I remember Grizzly Smith trying to catch anybody that he could. And you'd always see him hanging around the young girls. Big question mark in your head, is Grizzly screwing around with the young girls or what? You hope not, but you'd hear a lot of rumors, but rumors are nothing to me. I'm an American, and everybody's innocent until proven guilty.
You also got to work for Leroy McGurk. What are your memories of working for Leroy? You actually backtrack. You actually also dated his daughter too, right?
Yeah, Michael Kathleen. He had a beautiful daughter. I remember when I met Michael. We were in the house in right there in Tulsa, and because he had a ranch in Claremore, an 1,800-acre cattle ranch. He had these bulls that cost like $50,000 a piece. I mean, they sell the semen for, $100 or $1,000 a while. I mean, why couldn't I get a job like that? I had to be a wrestler. So, anyway, Leroy, I wasn't sure he was blind. I didn't know if it was a gimmick or what. So I had only been in the territory for a month or so, and I had met Michael, and we were kind of had that little eye thing going on. I started seeing each other a little bit. She took me to her house, and I hear Leroy asking for something. All of a sudden, he comes walking out like this. He would walk like this, and he had his hands out, and he pretty much knew where everything was, and he'd count the steps. And he came within 2 inches of me, brother, 2 inches of hitting me that day, and my heart was just pumping. I thought he felt my heart because he didn't want his daughter to date a wrestler. That was the last thing he wanted. So I remember that, and I also remember the night he tried to shoot me. That was when I was splitting up with Michael and Kathleen, and she. I had gotten in a fight with Doug Summers that night because I found out that he was, the guy was riding with me, and turns around. We split up for a few days, and she was having an affair with Doug Summers, and I found out about that and I was in the office, standing in Leroy's office. I was actually waiting on a paycheck, and in comes Doug Summers. Well, that was the last thing Doug Summers ever wanted to do because we knocked some stuff down on his walls, and Leroy had heard about it, and I was upset, tears in my eyes afterwards, didn't know what it felt kind of like. What do I do now? I got my boat, my Great Dane, my stereo, and a couple little bits of clothes, leather jacket, and $500. And I had probably left about, a lot of money. I left a lot of money. I put a lot of money into a house and a lot of money into other things. I just had that, and I wanted to say goodbye to her before I went to the Dallas territory next. And I knocked on the door. Leroy came to the door. He said, "Who is it?" I said, "It's Brian. Can I talk to your daughter, please?" And he said, "Get the hell out." I mean, he just went off on me big time. And he couldn't see me. He was looking through the screen because he was blind. Now, I did find that out. He was blind for real. And so I went around the corner, and he went back. So I went back and sat in my old 72 powder blue Lincoln Continental. And I'm sitting there thinking, golly, this is horrible, man. This is horrible. I'm going to Dallas now. All the times, spent, I start crying again. And I go to the back to look to see if Michael was actually in there. And I see this guy laying on the couch that looks like a mummy. I mean, he was completely, there was no face, only a mouth opening and a nose opening. And it was Doug Summers, and Michael Kathleen was there feeding him soup. And talk about a heartbreak, that crushed me. So I went back around to the front. I knocked on the door again. Leroy opened the door with the gun and went blam, blam, blam. Fired his gun. I believe it was 3 times. I was so afraid when I saw the gun and the screen door open. I stepped to the side. So the bullets went right by his Lincoln Continental tire. You could see him. He almost blew his tire out. And you could see like the dirt fly up against the tires right there. I mean, he had the bead where he thought I was standing, and if I had been standing there, I wouldn't be talking to you today. That's for sure.
That's crazy.
Well, that was crazy, brother.
Did you call the cops or anything, or no?
No, I got in my car and headed to Dallas.
And that was it.
Yeah, that was it.
What are your memories of working for Fritz?
Oh man, God, I lived with David Von Erich for over a year, and I personally liked working for Fritz. Even when times were a little bit tough and the towns weren't doing good, Fritz put $100 bill inside of my paycheck, whatever my paycheck was. He always left $100 bill there, and he'd say, "Try to watch out for my kids." And I always often wondered why he said "try" rather than "watch out." He just said, "Try to keep an eye on my kids. Try to watch out for this. Try to do that." He had a different note that he always left me with that $100 bill. And back then Mike was little, and Kevin was the oldest. Then when David was the second oldest, Carrie was the third oldest, and then fourth was
Chris?
Yeah, Chris, and then I just told you the youngest one's name.
Mike?
Yeah, Mike. Oh man, when I think about David. David was a classy guy, and he invited me down, let me live at his house and stay there, and I'd try to pay him rent. And he didn't want rent, he just wanted to use my boat whenever he wanted to. So I said, "That's great, man, take it out whenever you want." So it was just a 17 or 18 foot caravel inside, what do you call that, inside outside motors, but it was a kind of a universal ski boat, fish boat. And we had a lot of fun on that boat though, on Lake Dallas. A lot of fun. I probably had more fun in that territory than any other time. I remember when David went to Dallas. David went to Japan, and he left me his Corvette. He told me to take his Corvette, so I'd go to the Broken Spoke, and a lot of fun. Go line dancing, and had a great time.
Did you ever
came back and his horse died? His Palomino horse. Sissy, not Sissy. Sissy was his girlfriend. Sorry, but he had a horse, but it had an S name, and Sadie or something like that. Anyway, she died, and God, it was horrible. I called the vet, and I just knew David was going to be crushed. Absolutely crushed. So I went over and talked to Fritz and Doris, and they told me not to tell David till he got home, so he wouldn't be down while he was in Japan. And he called me and he asked me point blank, how's the horse? And I said, I haven't seen him. And he said, "No, you got to take care of that horse. Make sure you do this, that, and the other. You give me the directions, brush her, do all that kind of stuff. Take the Corvette, do whatever you want, fire the guns. Just take care of the horse." And boy, they would talk about a dagger. And he came back from Japan, and that really hurt him bad. David was a fond lover of everything but cats, because I'll never forget my first night there after I left Oklahoma with the boat on the back and the whole Shazam there, with my whole $500 in my pocket. And I got to the house, and he pulled a joke on me first. I'm not going to mention that joke right now, but it was a pretty funny joke. In the morning, we would go to bed, and in the morning he jumps up and he goes, "Cat," real loud, "cat." And I love cats. I love all animals. I'm a big time animal lover. And he gets this Clint Eastwood 44 Magnum, and he runs out his door in his underwear, and he chases this cat down, and it climbs a tree, and bam, 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 he shot that cat about 5 times. And I just thought, oh my God, I can't believe this. What did I get myself into? So I didn't know if David was sane or not then.
Right.
But he turned out to be just a super guy, man. All the brothers to me, they were great.
Did you ever see anything out of control with the guys? Obviously, you hear all the stories about their drug use and party ways.
Well, back then, pot was something that was around a lot, so nobody said much about that. But I was never around them when they did, whatever. I don't know. I know when David died, he was the first one to die, and that crushed everybody from there. It's amazing that Kevin is the oldest and still living, and because he was the instigator probably of most of the bad things that anybody ever did there.
Wow. What about his father, Fritz? How was he as a father? A lot of people say he pressured the boys to work in the business, and a lot of the guys maybe didn't want to work in the business. Did you ever see that?
No, because I left, he pressured Mike into working in the business.
Right.
Big time. And Mike had no reason. He didn't belong. I mean, in the ring, he was maybe 5'8", skinny. He didn't have it. Chris didn't have it. So, he did pressure those boys. His older ones were just pure athletes. And, very, very good athletes. Kerry was, I heard, and I can't verify that, but that he was an alternate in the Olympics for the discus. I know he was a state champion and things like that. I saw a picture of David spinning a basketball and a football on both of his fingers because they were the news, the sports columnists were making the big story about, is he going to go on a football scholarship or is he going to go on a basketball scholarship? So they were all great athletes. Kevin was very fast. They all had he'd never wear shoes, Kevin. That's
all right.
Yeah, never wear shoes.
You got to work with guys like Killer Brooks and Stan Stasiak in that territory. Any memories of those guys?
Absolutely. Killer Tim with that cigar. Always, man. I had some great matches with those guys. See, that's, to me, what I really thank God for in the wrestling business, other than my tag team partner, Jumpin' Jim Brunzell, was the fact that I got to, when I started in the business, the old timers that were really, really good psychologists, the Ivan Koloffs, that were really, they were in the middle of their career kind of, but those guys, the Killer Tim Brookses, the guys you're talking about from Waxahachie, Texas, and then I tag teamed with Al Madrill there, and we were the America's champions, and those guys were good guys. Stan Stasiak, he was a funny son of a gun, and learning the psychology from one territory to the next, which the guys don't have the opportunity to do now because the different, whether it was Vern Gagne in Minneapolis or whether it was Vince McMahon or whether it was Eddie Graham in Florida, Bill Watts in the mid-states, they all ran their territories a little different way. Roy Shires in LA, and so everybody had different psychologies. You'd learn different moves. Everybody says I was the first guy to ever do a double clothesline. One day I was in St. Louis, and there was a bunch of guys there. I said to Jack and Gerald, they were there, I said, what if I had two guys shoot me in, go for a double clothesline, I duck and come back for a double clothesline them and slam one of them on top of the other one, go to the top rope. Sounds good to me. So I did that while those people came unglued, and it's just a normal high spot now. But everybody starts, one move or another if you stay around long enough.
Who did you travel with down in Texas? Mostly David or?
David.
Okay. How did you get booked in New Japan? Was that through Vince McMahon?
Senior. Okay. Yes. 1980 was the first time I went to Japan for Vince Senior. I remember when Hulk Hogan and I were standing in Allentown, and Vince Senior had just got done giving a great motivational speech. What a class act. Vince Senior was a gentleman dressed in a suit. I mean, he was I just admired that man so much. I'd look at him and I'd say, that's $1 million right there. I mean, he's probably worth a lot more than that, but I'm just saying, that he was dressed to the nines. And we went up, and Vince and I were talking about Japan, and Terry came with, and I was going to go for New Japan for my first tour. And he went into the restroom, and he didn't realize that he kind of left the door cracked while we're talking, and he turned. It wasn't like it was kind of a junky place up where the bathroom was, and he turned back around and walked out, and Terry's look, and there's blood in the toilet. And soon after that is when Vince Sr. was diagnosed with the cancer that he had.
Wow. Was the tour of Japan something that you were interested in doing?
Oh yeah, I've done a lot of tours to Japan. A lot of tours for New Japan. The last time I was there was almost 2002. It's October of 2001, actually. That was the last time I was in Japan.
What are your memories of working for New Japan?
I loved working for New Japan. I loved working with Fujinami and with Inoki, and I worked with everybody there on top almost every night when I worked. The only times I really didn't like is when I worked with Leon White, and I had to tell him to loosen up a little bit, because he hit me one time so hard that I left my feet and did a complete somersault. He hit me so hard, and he thought that was funny. He used to hit a lot of people like that.
Right.
I was grateful the day that Paul Orndorff beat the shit out of him. Excuse my French.
Was it hard to adjust to the style in Japan, being that they're a lot stiffer?
Not for me, because that's what I was raised on in Florida.
Right.
The same thing. That's why I got to go there so often, was because that's the style I learned. That's the style they work.
Any good road stories from Japan?
Yeah, I'll tell you one. Orndorff had these things called 2-and-alls, and he put 2 of them in Hattori's. He was the referee. He put 2 of them in Hattori's beer. When you got done in Japan, the bus would be waiting, ice cold beer, water, Coke, whatever you wanted to drink. And Paul put 2 of those in. Hattori's going back and forth, and the Americans sat in the back and the Japanese sat in the front. He was going back and forth, and everybody was just watching him like a yo-yo, because Akasaka was on like these mountains. And as the bus turned, he was going this way and that way, and we all thought that was really, really funny. Well, Orndorff got me the same night. So we're in this little town that makes these little wooden dolls, and we had to sleep on these little bamboo, these little things on a hard surface, a wooden surface, and then there was these cushioned mat that went over this. Well, about 4 in the morning, 5 it was late in the morning, I wake up and I was going, I thought somebody was killing me now. It makes me think back to the story when he was going off the mountain. But he had put all those, there was about 10 of them stacked on top of me, and he Mickey'd me with those things. And I didn't know about it. He could have killed me. So that's a memory from Japan. But I have a lot of memories from Japan. A lot of memories. Great place.
What are some of your early memories of Andre the Giant?
Oh God, I had so much fun with Andre. Andre doesn't take to a lot of people.
That's what I hear.
And he took me under his wing. And anytime Andre was in town, I got 2 great stories with him and Dusty Rhodes together in the car. I mean, hilarious. And golly, I remember when Andre and Rene Goulet and I were in New York, and we were in this little taxi cab, and it was ice cold outside, and Andre farted, and I mean, it smelled so bad, and the taxi cab driver actually rolled his window down, and he stuck his head out the window, and he's driving down the road with his head out the window, and it was great. We were laughing. Then Rene got his car, and Andre wanted him to smash some trash cans for some reason. I thought that was a little strange, but anyway, they went through the neighborhood driving down, hitting these trash cans, and the boss was just ho 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 ho. And he was just a lot of fun. I remember being he was in the van with Terry Garvin was in the back. Coco Ware was in there in the van. I was in the front, and I believe it was Hector Guerrero was on the driver's side. So Andre was in the back there with Terry Garvin and Coco, and we're driving, and all of a sudden I hear, "Boss, hey boss, let me go. Boss, you're stiff." And I look back and I see, Terry's a gay guy, and Andre had front face locked Coco and clamped him in hard, and there was nowhere for Coco to go. And I'm driving down the road, and I figure they're just joking around, and all of a sudden I hear Coco's pants rip. And he's going, "Andre, Terry, no, please don't do it, don't do it." And I'm thinking, oh my God, here I am. I'm responsible for this territory, and Coco's going to get raped in the van. And I said, oh God, I can't let this happen, because then I turn around and I see Terry, and believe me, he was ready to do the deal. And I hear, all of a sudden I hear, Terry, no. And Coco, somehow he breaks through. I stopped the van, because this wasn't going to happen in my van.
Right.
And I stopped the van, and Andre was laughing so hard. I mean, just so hard. He thought it was just absolutely hilarious. And it took us 20 minutes to get Coco back into the car.
Wow.
Before he would even get back in.
So they're just ribbing him, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Then Terry was actually had a wife. I guess he was bisexual, whatever.
Right.
Whatever somebody does in the bedroom's their business. So, but nobody's going to rape anybody while I'm around. So, especially one of the guys like that. I mean, that was crazy. And I really thought that when he screamed and the pitch got a little high, I thought, man, and to this day, Coco swears no, but I couldn't swear no.
Did you have any conversations at all about going to New York at this time at all? I mean, when you were there for Vince Sr., were you just there doing TV? Or?
No. I mean, I had a good spot with Vince. I was there for 2 years, or a year and a half.
For Vince Sr.?
Senior.
Okay.
And then Terry went there for Minneapolis. And Terry knew Jimmy, Jumpin' Jim, and he knew Gagne, who was Greg Gagne, who was Jimmy's tag team partner. And Hulkster called up and said, Jim Brunzell? And I said, well, I've heard of him. I've never really seen him work or anything, but I haven't heard anything bad. And he said, well, why don't you guys, would you like to be his tag team partner and come to New York? I said, heck yeah, brother. And bingo, we were in Canada, and we were sitting thinking about some different stuff. I like the Miami Dolphins and the Bees, and Lanny Poffo was there, and he had a pair of bee trunks, and boom, the Killer Bees were born.
Before we get into that, I want to talk about Georgia, and also I know you went back to work for Eddie Graham a little bit too. Yes. When you went back to work for Dusty and Eddie Graham, how different did Eddie treat you at this point? You're pretty much more seasoned now.
Oh, way different. I mean, we took his business. Jesse Barr and I did an angle where he came out of a chicken suit. I came out of the chicken suit, but there was the Florida Chicken because he was the champion and he wouldn't give me a title shot. So there was this chicken that would harass him, and I'd encourage the chicken to harass him, and he'd tell us both to shut up, and I'd ask for the belt. Jesse Bard, man, if you're any kind of man at all, give me a title shot, bro. I want to do it. I want to show the people that I am the real Florida heavyweight champion. And no, you don't deserve it. You need to beat this guy, that guy, and I beat this guy, that guy, and he still wouldn't give it to me. And the chicken would agitate him. He'd get tired of that chicken, and he'd chase that chicken around. And one day, and this was Eddie Graham's idea. This is what a master he is. And he said, Brian, I want you to get in that chicken suit. We're going to do it tonight at the Spartan Sports Center. We're going to film it. We're going to go all around with it. So I said, okay, sounds good. So I got in that chicken suit. I'm sorry, we were in the Sportatorium before that. And hot, small building, but there I was in a chicken suit, it was already 110 in there, and that chicken suit was about 120. And the time was right. He jumped out after he beat the guy, and that chicken jumped up in the apron and harassed him. Jesse chased me around. I hit the ropes. He ducked and pulled his hand back, and I came off with a flying elbow and pulled the chicken mask off. Flapped my wings, and we were off to the races. As a matter of fact, the guy that John Gailey has all the paychecks from then, and I was making $1,500 and $2,000 a week.
Wow.
And that was big money. I mean, we were having just outstanding crowds everywhere. I mean, it was great business. We had a great run together.
Memories of working with Kevin Sullivan.
Kevin was so easy to work with because his style is so much different than mine. He's a chop meat kind of guy, and a promo, and choke, kick, bite, scratch, gouge. You don't do too many double kip ups with a reverse fireman's carry. I mean, it's a different style. So we kind of adopted each style, but he was fun to work with. And again, that was just that, learning all those different psychologies from the eras of the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 21st century. That's 4 decades. That's a lot of wrestling.
What are your early memories of Barry Windham?
Barry, he was a good guy, handsome, good-looking guy. Dusty was totally in love with Barry, and they were best buddies. He met a girl named Pam Seals that he really kind of fell in love with, and she wound up marrying Burt Reynolds, or at least they were living together for a long time, and they were engaged because my friend Dan Gadarian took me down to Hollywood, where they were doing the movie Striptease. And so we were on the set for about a week there with Demi Moore and Burt, just hanging out and just being fans. Wow. It was great.
Did Dusty change at all around this period of time, or was he the same?
Yeah, I would say Dusty changed.
As far as what, his ego or?
Ego. He got a little more cocky. But he was always nice to me, but I'd see him with some people like just recently at the CWF school in Florida, Gil Cabot, who when Wade Boggs and I did Gordon Soley's eulogy, his funeral, I loved Gordon Soley, and that's one thing that I left out about Championship Wrestling from Florida. Gordon was absolutely awesome and a great guy. And that's when I started doing the lunches, like next Thursday, the 13th. We're going to be, it'll be Jack and Jerry Briscoe, Tony Marino, Buddy Colt. Let's see who else is coming. Mike Graham, Hector Guerrero. There's somebody else, but we'll all be eating at a place called La Casa de la Pasta, which is the best Italian restaurant in Tampa. And Dusty, you were talking about Dusty. He, where I was talking about, Gil Cabot sent this bouquet of flowers. And Gil Cabot was also good friends with the Curtises, Dottie Curtis and Don Curtis up in Jacksonville. And Gil Cabot is one of the most respected people in Hollywood. And he helped put this show together for Dusty's son and this big return that they had. And Dusty treated the guy like he didn't even know him. And Gil's telling me this. And I remember when Gil was helping him busting his butt, Gordon asked him to do it. Here's this guy, he's, multi-millionaire. He's produced all kinds of series. I have his whole credentials written down. They're long. You could go to media, capturedmedia.com, I think it is, and you'll see Gil Cabot's resume. And Dusty treated him like crap. Finally, Steve Keirn stepped up to the plate and said, "Damn, Dusty, you just treated Gil Cabot like crap. Don't you know who that is? That's the guy that helped you with that thing." And here Dusty was, told him to get out of the building, all kinds of shit like that, stuff like that, excuse me. And finally, Dusty apologized because they wanted the girl that starred in this show, Angela. It was about 6 years ago. It wasn't. It was one of those like Disney shows,
right?
Kind of like a Hannah Montana show, 10 years ago. And Angela.
Love Hewitt.
Pardon me.
Was her last name Love Hewitt, or?
If you look in my day book, you can see it right there. If you want to stop for a
second. That's okay.
Anyway, they wanted Angela to come in to CWF to, announce a match and have some star power on there. He didn't know that Angela works exclusively for Gil Cabot. He's her manager.
I gotcha. What about Jimmy Garvin? You had a good program with Jimmy?
Jimmy Kawachafe Garvin. I had a great program with Jimmy, and I love Jimmy and his wife, Patty. Jimmy was, what a great guy. I remember we were out at the ranch in Claremore, Oklahoma one time, and Jimmy and his mom took these motorcycles. I just bought a couple of Suzuki's 125s, and they go pretty good. 125cc Suzuki, and his mom did a wheelie or something. Jimmy was doing wheelies, so she did one and fell down and hurt herself. That was the sad part. But Jimmy had a red Corvette while he was working for Bill Watts. He actually had a red Corvette for a long time, and we used to make many a road trip in that red Corvette. And I had a lot of great matches with Jimmy Garvin. I wish I had some of those on tape.
When Dusty, I actually had a lot of stuff I'll talk to you about after that. But Dusty, when he went to Crockett and worked for Crockett as a booker, did he ever try to recruit you at all?
Yes.
Why didn't you go?
Dusty wasn't the booker. I went there for 2 weeks, and I stayed with Roddy Piper for the 2 weeks I was there. And him and his wife, Bunny, we had just a super time. I liked it a lot, and I really looked forward to going back. I wanted to learn that different style. I have an opportunity to work with Flair some more, and for some reason, we just, I don't really recall the exact reason. I went to another territory.
You worked for Georgia, too, for a little bit.
I don't know if it was then. Yeah, I was 85.
Yeah, it's when Ole was booking, I think.
And we were the first people to actually take cable television and utilize it when we started going into Columbus. And Tommy Rich was top babyface then. And we had a great time. The Freebirds were there. Tony Atlas, Paul Orndorff, watching the Paul Orndorff Tony Atlas fight. We were coming during that same period of time right then, Rob. We were coming back from Wheeling, West Virginia, and Tony Atlas, I watched him right there stick a needle of about 3 cc's of test in his ass, and I thought, my God, and he was slamming doors, saying nobody could beat him up but Andre the Giant, and he was on his roid rage, and I was driving, and Tommy Rich was sitting behind me. Tony was in the passenger seat, and Paul Orndorff was beside him, and Tony kept on, and nobody wanted to mention a word. Tony, he's a big, strong son of a gun, and you didn't want to get him mad. Nobody wanted to mess with him, except Paul's a guy that doesn't back down for anything. So Tony said, "Brian, would you move the seat back a little bit?" And I said, "Tony's got to move the seat back." So Tony moved the seat back, and he goes, "Move that seat back up, Murdoch." He called him Dick Murdoch. And the reason is because when him and I went to Louisiana, we ride in the back with Killer Cox and Dick Murdoch, these old timers that were selling out everywhere. And great psychology, great matches together. But they had a bench seat. Killer Carl Cox had a bench seat, or Dick Murdoch did, and he'd pull it all the way back. And we'd have to drive 300 miles, sideways with our knees like this. So that was the joke. If somebody pulled the seat back, you'd say, hey, move the seat up, Murdoch. So he tells Atlas, he says, hey, move that seat up, Murdoch. And he goes, don't call me Murdoch, Paul, or I'll kick your ass. Paul said, you ain't going to kick my ass. I said, he said, pull the car over. I said, oh, come on, guys, just chill out. He said, no, pull the car over. And Paul says, pull the car over, Brian, right now. Tommy Rich is going, no, guys, no, please don't fight, please. And I mean, he's really almost got tears. He's got tears in his eyes. I mean, he started crying. I remember by the trailers, he was bawling like a baby. Please don't fight, please don't fight. This Paul had a pair of tennis shoes on, a tank top, and a pair of shorts, and a cross, a crucifix. He said, Brian, hold my cross, will you? And I said, yeah, bro, no problem. Stuck it in my pocket. Tony Atlas had cowboy boots on, pair of jeans. He was ready to roll. They went out. There was a bowling alley. We pulled out next to this bowling alley, and we walked onto this like basketball area that had some hoops, and there was some little pebbles around. And Tommy started crying and screaming for him not to fight, and all of a sudden they just clashed and started rolling on the ground, and I hear, ah! Tony went to punch him. Paul ducked, took him down. They start rolling on the ground, and you hear Tony screaming to the top of his lungs, ah! And Paul bit his ear off. Bit his whole ear off, the whole lobe right here. So Tommy ran and screamed and grabbed the little ear like it was a dinosaur egg, and carried it. And he said, we got to go to the hospital and get this sewn out. So we did have to go to the hospital because blood was just coming down all over. And Tony admitted right then, he said, Paul, you kicked my ass, but you shouldn't have bit my ear off. And he said, well, you shouldn't have done this. And then they started to fight again. They were going to go for way. They wanted to get out. Paul wanted to get out again. Tony didn't.
Right.
So we asked directions, left Tony at the hospital, and that was the last time that Tony was at a championship wrestling from Georgia.
Wow, that's a great story. Also down in Florida, I forgot to mention two guys' names that I definitely want you to talk about. Rick Rude, memories of Rick?
Ravishing Rick. Oh, man. I love working with Rick. I'm sure you've got matches with Rick and I. We had some great matches together. Easy guy to work with, great athlete, great promo man. It's a shame, when you see the movie The Wrestler, that doesn't remind me of Rick, because Rick made money and he saved money, but and he never made it long enough to be quite like the portrayal of the wrestler as some of the friends that I pray for on Sunday that are 6 feet under live that life that Mickey Rourke played. That's a very close to a real life story. And
I'll ask you about that coming up at the end of the interview, your thoughts on that movie. What about Billy Jack Haynes? What are your memories of Billy Jack?
Billy Jack, you never knew where he was coming from. I mean, Billy Jack Haynes was like one of the guys you could look at, he could laugh, he could do whatever, but you just never knew where Billy was coming from. And
we just did a couple interviews with him, and he's very much out there.
Yeah, out there is probably the word that I would use for Billy.
When you were working for Vince Sr., you had some memories of Bruno Sammartino. What are your memories of Bruno?
Bruno and I are great friends. Great friends. I remember David Von Erich, his son, and they don't speak, and to me that's just a travesty. And it's not Bruno's fault. He's reached out to David. But we were in Hapeville, Georgia, at the Falcons Rest during the time you're talking about. And I used to ride a lot with David too. David and the Freebirds, and it was Tito Santana. A lot of good guys. We had a great time in Georgia, but David was wanted to be his dad. He wanted to be Bruno. And Bruno to me is he's a living legend. He had his own style, his own unique way of doing things. He's pretty, I don't agree with everything that Bruno says, but I just had a caricature done when I was in Hall, New Jersey. I didn't have it done. A guy actually did one for Bruno and I, and the guy is absolutely fantastic. I can't think of his name right now, but if you ever want a caricature, I'll leave it with your video company.
Okay.
The name.
When you first went into work for Vince, I think you came in and you worked Iron Mike Sharp. What are your memories of that match?
Iron Mike, very stiff.
Right.
A lot of guys used to run to Iron Mike for a pee test to fill up their cup. He was the first guy there and the last guy to leave. He would shower. I mean, there was not a germ on that man's body because he had a washcloth that was so full of a half a bar of soap. I mean, literally, he would use a half a bar of soap a shower. You know how much soap it is?
A lot of people tell us that story.
And he would scrub and scrub and scrub for an hour. He literally would. There was times when he got locked in buildings. Iron Mike Sharp actually got locked in buildings because he was still in the shower and everybody was gone.
That's classic.
So yeah, that's Iron Mike Lee. Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's still alive.
That's
He's in
great.
Jersey.
Oh, please tell him I said hello. I love Iron Mike.
Memories of Brody and Hanson.
Oh man, Brody, Frank he was a mentor. He was a guy that was the first person to tell me, you know, Brian, it's not how much you make, it's how much you save. We'd always eat tuna fish. When I hung out with Frank, it was tuna fish in the gym, baby carrots. We practically lived off of baby carrots, tuna fish in the gym. And Frank was a fabulous guy. He came into Tampa. This is how good a guy Frank Goodish, Bruiser Brody was. Bruiser Brody came in to work with me for the Florida title, and it was supposed to be some kind of a DQ, and he put me over. Even the boys said, he doesn't do that for anybody. I don't know why Frank did that for you. I mean, he took me out to through the crowd and to the wall and put my foot up on the wall and hit his head. He juiced all over, and nobody's, you know, that wasn't part of the, you know, the script was supposed to lead. Man, he was hard way and he was doing everything. He was just, he wanted to get me over, and to Frank Goodish, to his family, I say, I miss you, Frank. God bless you and your family. I hope you're fine. And call me if you ever need anything.
Were you shocked about what happened to him in Puerto Rico?
Absolutely sick. Absolutely sick to know. And Tony Atlas was right there. And to me, Tony Atlas has got no guts to have not told the truth about the man that murdered Bruiser Brody because he saw it with his own eyes. I wouldn't have maybe said it right there, but you can't let a brother die and watch his guts fall out, holding his guts when Victor cut him from side to side and not say anything.
What did you hear as far as what did you hear the reason was being? I heard a lot of different stories.
Yeah, he wouldn't do a job.
Right. Okay. I also heard back in the day that I guess Victor Cunis was telling us that when Brody was in New York with when Jose was there as the invader, that Brody was pretty tough on him and stuff like that. And then when they went to Puerto Rico, he reversed it, and I heard the same thing as far as you as not wanting to do a job and stuff. So
yeah, it was a sad event.
What about Stan Hansen?
Stan Hansen, Stan the man. Golly, I remember the first time I met Stan Hansen was at the Imperial Room Lounge, and to me that was like, you know, I was at Disneyland. I loved Stan Hansen. You know, that cowboy holding he had ways about him that were dynamite. I mean, he made so much money in Japan that you didn't get to see him a lot sometimes in the States because he was over in Japan so often. But respect. He's a great worker. He was a big guy that was agile, that could do a lot of stuff.
How did you wind up working for Vince Jr.? Now you could go into the story, I guess, with Hulk calling you.
Yeah, exactly. I got a call from Hulkster, and Hulkster said, again, Jim Brunzell, the Vern Gagne's son, Greg, and the High Flyers, and all that stuff, and got to go to right after the Florida run. I remember I was going to Florida, and I had to apologize to Mike Graham because we're building a park in Florida right now. He's actually building a park. I'm helping him with a lot of things to memorialize his father, Eddie Graham Park. And where were we at?
We were just talking about how you ended up working for Vince Jr.
I just started thinking about Eddie Graham, man. That's just anyway.
Well, I want to ask you about Eddie. I mean, as far as his suicide, what did you hear was the reason for Eddie taking his life? I heard a lot of different stories. So
it's very detailed and compounded between his girlfriend, Lucy, his wife, his business partners, some people that cheated him, business stress. It was a combination of a lot of things, but primarily his girlfriend, and of many years. And Eddie shot himself not once, but twice.
right.
The first time he shot himself, it went through the side of his lips. He missed here, and it went up through his cheek. The second time, he made sure it went straight up through the top. And wow, I just I just saw Mike right before I came here, and I get chills up my spine when I even think about that, because what a loss the wrestling world suffered.
Without a doubt. Now, when you came in to work for Vince Jr. before you started teaming up with Jim, you worked a couple of singles matches. You actually worked a lot of singles matches. You actually got to work with Paul again.
I love working out with Paul. I had some of the best single matches I ever had were with Paul Orndorff. I had a match with him in, I wish it was on tape, in Rhode Island. That was the best match I ever had in my life. Paul said it was one of the best matches he ever had in his life. People never sat down. Then another match I had in St. Louis that I have on tape, I think, still. Vince McMahon Jr., that's when he really started liking me, is when he saw that match I had with Paul Orndorff. And I had an awesome match. It was because Paul was such a good heel. That guy could get heat like nobody's business. And we just, from breaking in together, the chemistry was always there with us. I mean, we knew what the other one was going to do. I'll never forget, we were in Boston, and we were in where the Celtics played. I used to always dress in Larry Bird's locker there, and we were in a singles match and at the Garden, and there was a big barricade around the ring, a wooden barricade that was painted black, but there was scuff marks. You could see where all the different things had happened over the years, chairs, flying table, whatever. And we're getting instructions from Dick Worley, and a metal pipe flies right past, just misses Paul's head. And I thought I saw something flash past my eyes, and I heard like a shotgun blast, blam! And it was an elbow pipe, a steel elbow pipe. Had it hit any one of us, we would have been dead. And so during the match, I got Paul in an armbar, and he's down selling, and I'm twisting his arm, and he's screaming, and I see something whiz past my eye again, and boom, I look, and there's a little miniature liquor bottle like from the airplanes.
Right.
And it hit him right in his mouth, and blood squirting all over, his lips swelling way up. And he goes, God. And he got up, and he started hitting me I said, Paul, I didn't throw the bottle. I didn't throw the bottle, brother. And he said, potatoing me and kicking the crap out of me. I said, I didn't do it, man, please. And, he finally loosened up, but he was so perturbed. I've never seen Paul come that unglued, even with Tony. I mean, he was not going to bite my ear off or anything, but he was just so angry that he was accidentally really, really hit me hard. I mean, I had some serious bruises and huge welts after that match.
You also worked with Greg Valentine as well.
Many times. If you ever watch me and Greg Valentine, the first time I do is I shoot and I take him down, and he can't stop me, and he knows it. And if Greg ever sees this, you know that, brother. I shoot on you every time, and you cannot take me down. And you can't stop from me taking you down. Today.
Easy to work with in the ring?
Yeah, I love working with the Hammer. He's great. He reminds me of just somebody in slow motion. He's always in slow motion.
Yep.
But he works a lot like his dad. His dad hit me on crutches one time in front of the boys. After the accident with Flair and Charlotte and all that, he became the booker in Florida, and I was just getting started. And he said, "I want to show you how to throw a forearm the right way, kid." So he pulled his crutches to the side. Needless to say, all the boys are there. They're watching. And he comes down with this big forearm. And blammo, man, he hits me on the chest. And, oh, my gosh, I just started to sink to my knees. I thought my heart stopped. And that was the very same day that I walked into the Dusty was there. And all the people were there. There was an X, a black X, and there was a pile of money. And the Briscoes were there, and there was a pile of money on the table. And Patterson, he's gay. He's a great guy. He's still one of my close friends. And he's a great golfer. And Pat had set up this thing he was doing to make money, and he had everybody, he knew how to make everybody miss when he put this blindfold on. You get about 15 feet back as far as it was there in the sportatorium. You'd aim your finger, and if you touched any part of that circle of that X, you win the whole pot of money. So I walk in, and I think it was Dusty said, "Hey, Beep," he calls me Beeper. He says, "Hey, Beep, why don't you get into the game?" I said, "Well, what is it?" They explained what I just said. I wasn't sure, so I put my $2 or whatever it is. Now that's a big stack of money. I get the aim real good. They put the blindfold on me, and I got the aim going. Just watched 3 other people miss it by 6 inches, 8 inches, 2 feet. And now I got the bead right there. And as I walked, all of a sudden, boom, I hit it, and it was Pat Patterson bent down with his pants down, and I hit him right. I hit the X all right. And it was crazy. But that's the kind of things wrestlers did to pass the time away, stupid stuff like that. So, they got me again. Golly, I don't know how many times I've been ribbed in this business, but there's some good ones.
You got to work with Bob Orton. Memories working with Bob?
Worked with Bob, his dad. Golly, I worked. Bob Orton was a tremendous worker. If Bob had a little more color, he would have had the total package, and a little bit better promo. He had the total package because he was a tremendous psychology man. And his son Randy is picked up from Grandpa and Dad, and I think Randy Orton's a tremendous worker,
without a doubt. Talking about a guy who could do promos, Roddy Piper. You got to work again with Roddy. What are your memories of Roddy?
Oh, Roddy's great. He's I wouldn't give Roddy a 10 on a 10 scale for his working ability, but he's got good timing, he's got great psychology, he's got a tremendous promo, and he puts it all together. The bottom line is he puts people in seats, and he entertains people, and he brings them back, and that's what the business is really about.
You got to work with Eddie Gilbert too. Memories of working with Eddie?
Yeah, many times. And his dad as well. Tommy, yes, I did. That's when I was just at that age where, I got to see so many of the great old timer guys, and now here I am as considered an old timer because you got the 18 to 30 crowd, and or 20 to 30 crowd, so to speak. And Eddie was, I remember when he fell in love with Missy Hyatt. And that's the last thing I remember about Eddie, other than him passing.
All right. What about Bob Backlund? You got to work with Bob and also team with Bob. What are your memories of Bob Backlund?
My memories with Bob, or I see Bob, he was in Japan the last time I was there, and I see him at a lot of these programs that we come out and see the fans still, which is, I really appreciate you and the guys that run the shows and give us the opportunity to interact with the fans. And he was just another fine guy to work with.
Do you think he's a little out there? I mean, some people say he's a little strange.
I would say, he could be, but he used to always tell me, buy gold, my coins, get gold and old coins. Now, he's right. I wish I would have listened. So, maybe the people that thought that was wacky about him, because he used to, that was a conversation that always came up, and he was right.
Right. What about your push in WWF? Did you think you were going to get the big push in the beginning, or did you feel that you were just going to be kept as a mid-card guy, or did it ever worry you that you were going to be kept as like a junior type of guy and not get, elevated?
No, because we were promised the belts 3 different times. Okay. And we even had Mr. T as our manager. That was a great time when we had Mr. T as our manager. So every time we'd ask, it was, the money's in the chase, the money's in the chase, the money's in the chase. And George Scott would lie about it, and I'm sure he was doing Vince's dirty work. And, I don't know, for some reason I think Vince had it in for Jimmy. And I don't know, Jimmy's a tremendous worker. Never ever saw a guy throw a drop kick like Jimmy. Best partner I ever had. But for some reason I think Jimmy must have rubbed Vince in a wrong way. There was a time when Jesse talked about starting a union, and Brunsey and I got pretty hyped on that because we don't have anything. The guys that didn't save their money, that's go watch The Wrestler. You'll see. And anyway, that's what I think.
How did your team come about? Let's talk about how you and Jim started forming a team in WWF. How did that take place?
We talked about that actually. When Terry called us, we went to Ontario, talked about some kind of name together. George Scott said something, so I think it'd be. We were sitting there talking, and I said, "Well, I like the Miami Dolphins." I remember saying the Killer Bees. Then Lanny all of a sudden pulled that pair of trunks out, the black and yellow trunks, and
right
there it was, man. There it was. It was born.
Did you like the gimmick?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody jumps up and hits each other with the butt now. That was our thing. We started that, in all sports, baseball, basketball, football. That was very, we worked on the Saturday night main event shows. One of them with the Hart Foundation, that was the highest rated show they ever had. And Bret Hart, I think it's even in his book, he said that was the best match he ever had.
I was going to ask you about working with the Hart Foundation. What are some of your memories of working with Jim and Bret?
Depending on what mood, kind of mood the Anvil was in, if he was all right, yeah, we would waltz and dance, and I know the people enjoyed every minute of the matches. We'd have great matches together, great matches. I just loved working with Bret and the Anvil.
You saying Jim was temperamental, basically, or was it just from...
Temperamental.
Okay. What about Demolition? You guys got to work with Demolition?
Yes.
Barry and...
Billy.
Yep.
Barry Darsow is probably one of the sweetest guys you'll ever meet. I mean, they're both good guys. We had Axe and Smash, Demolition. We had a good time. You know, Bill was Bill, and he always wanted to control the show. But Jimmy and I would always make sure that that the match went well. And generally the heel calls the match is what a lot of people think. But I used to always call most of the stuff I do, or somebody would say something, or we'd work together. I didn't like one person being in charge.
Who was the team leader between you and Jim? Who pretty much called the spots, or was it pretty much equally shared?
Well, Jimmy's sitting right over there, and he could object, but I would say that I did most of the talking. I don't know how Jimmy didn't slap me for it, but
right.
I used to love to sit and be creative with high spots and things like that. But, and then the guy that gave us the mask gimmicks, Billy Red Lions, he told us about the masks and the switch, and that really shot us, gave us some new blood to be there, 5-6 years. As a tag team, we were together for, a long time. And even after that, when we left Vince, or I left Vince first and Jimmy stayed, we did well, but it's a shame. A lot of people say, well, you should have won the belts. Well, really, that's something that's, it's not like the Olympics where you trained 100 times. I mean, there's people that have had the belts that shouldn't have had the belts, people that have made more money. I probably have more money saved up than most people that had belts. I've had a lot of belts, but
right.
A lot of championships, but the elusive WWF Tag Team Championships were just always that half count away.
You also got to work with Beefcake and Valentine.
Oh yeah,
memories of those guys.
Oh God! I remember when Jimmy and I had the people standing on their feet. I mean, this was a tremendous match, and we went 20-minute Broadway the night before. In the Meadowlands in New Jersey, and we're in Madison Square Garden, and we're rocking 22,000 fans, and it's pandemonium, it's excitement. I mean, you could feel the electricity in the air where it's for the belts, and we're just about ready to go into this unbelievable finish. So we cooked up, and this guy named Elliot rings the bell, and I just could have wrung freaking Elliot's neck. At 20 minutes, he goes, he's so stupid. Well, I thought it was, on Broadway. And, oh, God, I wanted to come off the top rope on him so bad. And Jimmy was always the same guy that calmed me down and taught me to come in rather than going out to the bars. We'll split a six-pack and watch the movie. And, Jimmy's a strong Christian like I am. And but he was just a better person than me, and, as far as doing the right things at the right times, and my hat's off to him for that, and I'll always be thankful. I'll never forget when we were in Australia. My grandfather died in 1986, the first WWF tour over there, and it tore me up. And Jimmy comforted me, and that was my first experience with death, and with somebody that I considered, my best friend, and my own blood, and it was hard, and Jimmy was there for me. So
now you actually got to team with Davey Boy filling in for Dynamite. What are your memories of Davey Boy and Dynamite?
Oh God, too many to count.
Dynamite was king of the ribs, so I'm sure you've seen a lot of stuff over the years with Dynamite Kid pulling ribs on guys.
Too many to count. They were having a steroid party one night in Toronto, Canada. It was the Bulldogs, Dynamite and Davey and some other people, and I couldn't believe that they were actually having a steroid party. So we go by there, and I look, and I see all these needles, bottles, syringes, crazy stuff. I heard Moondog Spot took 10 cc's of something. I mean, what did that accomplish? You know, I mean, the guys, if the young guys watch this, I think they are smarting up. I know Vince is drug testing. He's doing everything he can to keep the guys away from whatever might hurt them. So, and it's a tough job, and my hat's off to Vince for that.
How crazy was the drug scene back then? Being on the road with the schedule and
when you're wrestling, well, let's say this. Steroids just got a bad name for abuse. Everything was made for something. I took steroids with a doctor's permission, and Dr. Zahorian would prescribe a steroid, and then he would sell it to you and give you the prescription to carry so you didn't get in trouble. And you'd go to a town in Pennsylvania where he'd always be. There'd be a line to see Dr. Zahorian, but neither Jimmy nor myself were never into steroids like those guys. You know, we'd take a bottle of Deco if the doctor told us to. So, you know, we'd tell them we were hurting, and you take a bottle of Deca, a little 2cc bottle, but nothing else for the whole month, and it helps you recuperate way faster. It's almost at the schedule. I remember we worked 67 days in a row, different countries. Jimmy's kids were growing up, and he just kind of broke down, and he was missing so much, and I could see the hurt in him. I could really see the hurt in him. So it made me, Jimmy taught me that, you know, wait till you get off the road before you have children, you know, because, you know, he has a close family, a wonderful wife, marries a great lady, and he's a grandpa, and little Jenny's grown up, and his son Jimmy is a professional student, I think. I think he's still going to school. He's a great kid, plays the guitar, and everybody in that family loves Bruce Springsteen. You better believe that.
What about the Iron Sheik? He had some not so kind words to say about you, about your WrestleMania 3 match. I mean, what are your thoughts on when you first heard about Sheik's comments? And obviously, over the years, it's become pretty much his gimmick just to trash it. And you take it, you know, pretty much with a grain of salt. But was there a lot of heat between you guys or something at WrestleMania 3?
Well, Sheik's turned into he's one of the guys that I will tell you that I think is not a good person. And not only did I remember the first time when we were going to Australia, Sheik had popcorn and walked through the thing, and I'm going to sleep here, and all of a sudden I smelled something funny, and they had crack rocks at the bottom of this popcorn. Him and a deceased friend, good friend, Junkyard Dog, God bless him. And here these guys are smoking crack on the airplane, and I can't freaking believe this. I mean, I really can't believe this. And as the years went on, Cosgrove would not stop. I mean, the drugs, the steroids, the workouts, and then I found out that I could not believe that he had a young boy, a ring boy, in the room, a guy that wanted to be in the ring crew or something. And I hear this. At first I smelled pot in the hallway, and I'm smelling this pot, and it leads me to the door, and I'm listening, and I hear the Sheik's voice, and I hear this little, like a lower tone voice, and Sheik molested this little kid in the room.
Wow.
Terrible.
That's crazy. I never heard about that before.
No.
What are your memories of the match at WrestleMania 3? I mean, what led to your problems with him?
Let me take that back. It might have been, I'm sure it was consensual.
Right.
And there's a difference between molesting and consensual. But, you know, for him to call me the names he's called me, for him to do that, you know,
how
if
much
Sheik ever sees that, you know, I'd like to take a beer bottle and stick it where the sun doesn't shine. Sheik.
How much of it between you guys is a work, and How much was this?
Well, it's like you said, Rob. I rubbed it off for a long time, but I'm tired of it now. I'd like to seriously. Um, I would love the opportunity to have a match with the Sheik. I mean, it might not be fair. He's older than me, but if he's going to keep talking the talk, he better walk the walk, because I'm tired of kids on my baseball team. I mentor kids and I coach baseball, and they'll come up and tell me, why do you let the Sheik say all these bad things about you constantly? And I've told him 3 times now to quit it, and he won't. So
All right.
Enough's enough, Sheik.
Memories of your matches with Bob Orton and Don Morocco.
Jimmy called Don Mumbles. I love Don. Don was great to me. I remember he was there in the territory when we first came there. I used to ride with him all the time. I loved Don so much. I remember being in Hawaii, and we had just come out of this store, and I was with Mondo Guerrero, not Chavo, it was Mondo. Somebody asked me about that today, and I said it was Chavo. It was Mondo, and he opened the car and hit Mondo's car. These 2 guys, these 2 Hawaiian guys, they're fairly big guys. So Mondo, he can't ever keep his mouth shut. He just saying, hey, it's a rent-a-car, Mondo, chill out. He goes on with the guy. He goes on, and I could see, I felt it. We're getting ready to get into a fight. So I kicked the guy in front of Mondo, and instinctively, the guy's going to pull his head. So that meant that my right hand was going to hit his face. So when I kicked Mondo's guy to give him a jump, so he got the message, what was going on. I popped that one guy. He went straight down. Mondo started in on the guy, and the guy grabbed him by the neck, and I grabbed him, and we had them both on the ground, and these 4 big Hawaiian guys were coming out of the bar next door, and they saw it, and they started towards us, and Don Morocco just happened to be pulling into the same place. I guess it's a place all the wrestlers go to there in Honolulu. I went there for 2 separate 6-week tours, and Morocco started yelling at him in Hawaii. Otherwise, they already had the blades out.
Wow. Were you there for the Dynamite Jacques Rougeau fight?
Yes.
What are your memories of that night?
And the Spivey fight too. And I was just thinking about that fight earlier. But Adrian, Adonis, and Spivey. Which fight now? There's so many.
Jacques and Dynamite.
Yeah, we were drinking. Dynamite was drinking coffee. I remember we were talking, just kind of shooting the breeze. And I didn't see Raven or Jacques around. And Dynamite went to the right, and all of a sudden I heard some commotion, and somebody said that Jacques had a roll of coins in his hand and nailed Dynamite, sucker punched him when he came around the corner, which is, to me, anybody that sucker punches somebody, that's low, that's wrong. What got him that angry, I have no idea. But the Rougeaus were, you can't take anything away from their work. They were good workers. Dynamite and Davey were tremendous together, did some of the most innovative things at that time in the business that was ever done. And after that time, Dynamite was never the same.
A lot of people said that he was the Big River and he was mean to everybody, but that pretty much chilled him out.
Yes.
What happened with Spivey and Adonis? I never heard that story.
We were in Flint, Michigan, and Jimmy was watching Danny Spivey and Adrian Adonis. I was in the dressing room talking with Patterson, and then Pat left, and Mike Sharp, I think, was there. Iron Mike, a few. I can't remember everybody that was there, but Spivey and Adrian, God bless his soul, were having a lot of friction. It was building up, and Jimmy comes running in saying, "Brian, come out here! They're shooting." I said, who's shooting? What's happening? He said, come on. And by that time, Spivey came in to as I recall, Spivey came in to the door saying, that son of a bitch, da, 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 da. And he went into like this corner here, and Adrian came chomping in with his pink tights on. Yeah, you son of a bitch. I guess Adrian had put the sleeper on him or something, shoot style. I mean, the sleeper's an actual hold.
Right.
You go to sleep. And he's trying to put Spivey out. And somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm 99% sure that's what happened. And Jimmy was really hyper about it as he came running in and said something to Danny, trying to calm Danny down. And in comes Adrian. And Adrian went to leg dive Danny. And I'm going to tell you something. Danny Spivey's probably 6'7". He brought a left from the ground to Adrian's to above his knees, where Adrian went to leg dive him before he got to him, and it sounded like a shotgun hit a watermelon. And Adrian's face just went to the side. His cheekbone popped out. He nailed him a couple more times, and I mean, it was bloody, brutal. Patterson was going crazy. It was a nasty fight.
Wow. Just trying to see where we are right here. Memories of Terry and Dory, the Funks, in WWF. You guys got to work with them a little bit.
Yes, I did, and Japan. Just working with more great workers, two totally opposite personalities.
Yeah.
I mean, Dory is totally handpicked and controlled by Marty, his wife, where Terry and his wife just have a normal relationship, and he's it's a give and take kind of thing. And, his wife is just wonderful. We were at the Eddie Memorial, Eddie Guerrero Golf Classic that Chavo put on, and they were there. We had just a fantastic time together. But working with them was like working with more heroes. Only working with the Briscoes, would have been better for me. That was as close as it got to being with the greatest workers, both in many-hour Broadways that I did with Ric Flair, matches with Rick. Working with those guys was tremendous. Steve Stone Cold in Japan. Working with Steve, watching Steve work, trying to give him a little more psychology. Steve turned out into not only a fantastic guy.
You saw the potential in him, I guess, early on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The guy had it. He just needed that charisma. He found his niche, and when he did, it caught on fire. And I mean, it was like, him and The Rock rocked the world.
Memories of Bobby Heenan from back in the day.
I just talked to Bobby. Bobby will be there. Oh, Bobby, I got to call Bobby for the 13th to be there too. That's right. Oh, man. I got to write that down.
All right.
Remind me.
Percy Pringle just wrote me and he said hello, by the way.
Oh, okay. Great. Please tell him I said, I love Percy. Oh, shoot. That's, it's one thing I could say is that I don't think there's anybody except the Iron Sheik that could say a bad thing. I treated everybody with respect. Nobody had to worry about their wallet. I mean, they had to worry about some ribs as they got. I remember in California putting a roach in the Paul Orndorff's Copenhagen, and he was passing it around. And everybody took a dip, and Orndorff grabbed a dip and put it in, and Patera pulls something out of his mouth, and he goes, "Damn, that looks like a roach leg."
Oh.
And he spit his out, and Paul goes and he reaches and grabs, and it's a cockroach, and he had the whole cockroach, and it was hilarious. I mean, Jimmy Snuka laughed so hard he was rolling on the ground in circles, laughing. He would not stop laughing. I mean, it was funny, but it wasn't that funny. But Jimmy thought that was the funniest thing he ever saw.
I wanted to get your thoughts on Bobby Heenan, though.
Bobby Heenan, absolutely one of the best, if not the best manager that ever was. Class guy. I don't care where you're at. And Cindy Heenan, I tell you, she's the greatest. they were made for each other in heaven. God saw Cindy Heenan, I don't know her maiden name, and Bobby Heenan, and put those two together because they are like two peas in the pod. And only Cindy is the only woman that I know that can put up with Bobby because he does not. I can imagine their intimacy and him telling her a joke, when in an intimate time, probably when they had their wonderful daughter. I can see Bobby talking about, something to make you laugh. And Bobby loves to entertain. He's a natural entertainer, just a natural. He could have gone to Broadway and done stand up. He could have done anything like that. Bobby was pure talent, and right now, he needs everybody's prayers. He's going through a tough time. He's a fabulous, fabulous man, and I respect him so much. And hey, what can I say?
Did you guys feel lied to about not getting the WWE tag titles? You talked a little bit earlier on about being frustrated with not getting the big push because maybe Vince didn't like Jim. I mean, did you feel the office was BSing you guys a lot, or?
After the second time, the first time, when they said, well, you're going to make more money in the chase, you get the belts, you're going to drop them, and that could be the end of WWF for a while, and there wasn't a whole lot of places to go. So Vince had pretty much put everybody out of business with the cable. He could have done that. There's a tremendous story that everybody should hear sometime, but only Jack Briscoe could tell you the story word by word and truth by truth, or Vince McMahon himself, or anybody, Ted Turner, the people that were in on the conversation. But Vince owned USA and TBT at the same time. The
Black Tuesday thing, right?
And there would have been no TNN. Probably it would have put the territories out of business faster than it did. And Vince made a quick $1 million, and he could have made. But nobody's got. I can look back and say, I should have sold this stock or that stock or bought this one or that one. So he did what he had to do at the time, I'm sure. But it was certainly a time where the balance of wrestling would have absolutely been different than it is today.
You were so close with Paul Orndorff. I don't know if you know the truth to the story. Was he being groomed for the replacement of Andre versus, Hogan match at WrestleMania 3 if, Andre wasn't healthy enough? Did you ever hear anything about that?
I never heard that.
Okay. Now, at this point in your life, you're in WWF now, and you're, guys are pretty much seen everywhere on TV and stars. Did you ever sit back and be like, wow, how did I get to the spot here? I was a wrestling fan, now I'm a national superstar. Did it ever hit you
Yeah, well, I thought about it all the time. I think back to that time when I got down on my knees and prayed to be Superman. Be careful what you pray for. I feel like sometime in life there's a lot of destiny. There's a lot of things, and I have sat back and I don't consider myself any more than just a regular person. One of my best friends is the guy that repairs television at the Pasco at a Pasco County school that I went to high school with, Tommy DeMott. I mean, I can just consider myself a totally normal guy, but I do realize that when I get emails right now sitting on my computer, I have 2,000 emails because I went to the Keys, and I generally get about 200 emails a day. I'd say 50 to 150 from wrestling fans because of politics, because my name is out there a lot for a lot of different things. But, having the Gold's Gyms, I was a successful business person who started with one Gold's Gym, built 4 Gold's Gyms, had a multi-million-dollar business, employed 100 people, and I was always the last person to get paid. So the wrestling experience helped me a lot with that. Went from the wrestling popularity and that, that total excitement. And there's an old saying about how fast they forget. That's why things like the Legends conventions and stuff are so awesome. Because how often they forget when you're not on TV, something like that. And yeah, we'd go, I don't care where you'd go, somebody would say, hey, aren't you Brian Blair, one of the Killer Bees? Or aren't you B. Brian Blair? Aren't you one of those guys that wears the mask? Or, you hear all kinds of different things. And it was fun. It was a dream. It was truly a dream. If I added up all the matches I had, I mean, golly, we're talking 20 some odd years of, 14 where we'd have double shots on Sundays sometimes, and very seldom get a day off. So working well over 300 days a year.
Let's talk about Hulk Hogan now in WWF. I mean, you grew up as far as seeing him early on in Florida days. Did he change with success? Did he get a bigger ego, or is he still one of the boys?
To me, he is still one of the boys. He treats me totally. I mean, he just called me and got a message on the cell phone there if you want to listen to it. We keep in touch, always have. Terry's been like a brother to me. A lot of people don't like him because Terry knew how to take care of Terry, which is, in this business, if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else is going to take care of yourself. Is going to take care of you. It's a way that it's like there's no. That's a bad analogy. I was going to say there's no honor amongst thieves, but there's no thieves really. But since you have no insurance, you don't know when the boss is going to go off the handle or change directions and where he wants to take the company. So Terry's always been able to stay out in front of everybody, and a lot of people don't like him for that. I look at him as strictly a businessman. And if you ask Jimmy, he might say he's changed some, but I'm around him more, so it's a case where he doesn't have to call me or do anything, but we do, and we hang out together. Or there's a lot of other people that simply don't like him.
What's the biggest misconception of Hulk?
That he'll step on you to get to where he needs to go.
All right. Did you get along with Vince? I mean, was he approachable?
I had so many fun times with Vince. I can't count the fun times that I've had with Vince. I've been on so many Lear jets with Vince, and that was primarily because of Terry and his relationship, and he was the top dog for so long, and they were pretty much inseparable. So I've had a lot of great times with Vince. And as far as, I always call him Caesar. I got that from Chief Jay Strongbow. I think he named him Caesar. Chief Jay, what a character. Good guy, though, for the most part. Vince, though, I would call Vince a man that is a perfectionist and will accept no less. A man that is not going to let anything or anybody get in his way. And if you can accept that, he's a great guy. I can accept that. He's a great guy. That's not the way I operate. I don't need to live in a castle. I mean, I don't need to be chauffeur driven in a Rolls Royce. That's not my MO, but that's what Vince wants, and that's what he got. And the success of the WWE is a combination of timing, Vince having the money that his father left him at the right time. His father told him how to take over the nation, and Hulk Hogan coming to WWF from Vern, and the rest was history. And when Terry left, there was Stone Cold, and then The Rock, and I helped Rock with his first match. And I remember all these different things that go through my mind as I see him, and I see Vince creates. He he had the patience to stay with Dwayne, with Rock, uh, when Rock couldn't work. He couldn't talk. He couldn't. I mean, trust me. He asked me how his first match was in the Bahamas, and it wasn't good. But I told him I thought it was really good for your first match, and kind of built him up. Same way, it's just the coaching instinct in me again. I love to coach kids. I'm really into coaching and mentoring. But Vince will always be successful. I think his own worst enemy sometimes is wanting to be too successful. When he went into the bodybuilding magazine, when he went into different ventures other than wrestling. I just wrote a reality show called The Student Body Challenge that is absolutely perfect for Vince, and he likes it. But he's hesitant to do something different now because he's got burnt a couple times, though. There's nothing to say that he wouldn't do it, but the bottom line is I respect Vince. Jimmy probably wouldn't tell you that, but I will say that I do respect him. I worked for him, his dad. I worked for him. I remember when he was an announcer, looked like a young kid. And to see him, I mean, the guy turned out to be a great worker. I mean, his facial expressions, everything. I mean, nobody can get heat like Vince McMahon, real heat and heat in the ring. But I'm not going to say anything bad about Vince.
What led you to leave the company?
I was getting burnt out. The promise of the belts. New tag teams were coming in. That's one thing that they don't have now. Is it was so hot when we had like the Demolition, when they had the Sheik and Volkov, and then the Davey Boy and Dynamite, British Bulldogs. Then they brought in Rick Martel and Tito Santana, and called them what was their names?
Can-Am or
the
no?
Can-Am Connection, and you had the Rougeos. You had the Killer Bees. You had the Killer Bees and all these teams together at one time. And there's only so many tag teams that you can have, even running two times a night. I just felt like it was time for a break. I needed a break, and so I had a talk with Vince, and we amicably had a departure.
How did he react when you told him you were leaving?
Just have a great day.
Door open for you to come back at all, or?
I would say that there's talk about having a Legends Battle Royal, Legends Tag Team Battle Royal, and with both men having to leave exit the ring. I mean, I gave Vince set it up, and he liked it. So we'll see if he uses it, but I don't think if there was a position available for me to go to, that he would say no.
Right.
I know that when Steve Kern went there, that at that time I could have gone there. Steve was a manager of one of my gyms. He owned 20% of one of my Gold's gyms, and best manager. He made a lot of money with me. Steve Kern is a great guy, and I think he's doing a better job than I would have done.
You're talking about FCW down at the Territorial?
Yes.
What about tag team wrestling? Do you think it's a lost art form right now?
Yes. Yes.
Why do you think Vince doesn't push tag team wrestling anymore? Just because there's not a lot of tag teams out there and a lot of makeshift tag teams, or?
Yeah, I don't know really. I maybe it's paying 4 people for one match.
All right.
If you do run the pencil down, you're paying an extra 4 people.
When you left WWF, did you ever attempt to go to WCW at all, or was that not an option?
Yeah, it was, and Eric Bischoff lied to me, right, in front of Hulkster and their partners. Eric said that I'd be starting in 2 weeks, and I guess this was around, when was the big NWO run?
When NWO and all that?
Yeah.
It was like 80, no, not 80,
No,
96.
90s.
Yeah, 96, 97 maybe.
Yeah, it was around 97 or so in there, I think it was. And Eric was bringing me in, and even had a price we settled on, and I was supposed to get a contract, and something happened, and I didn't go.
Did you ever ask Hulk about it? What happened? Or
I asked Terry to find out from Eric, and if he wanted to come back and give me that information, he would have done so. I didn't pry him for it, so I don't know.
you were a Florida guy, so why do you think that Dusty never took you around with him like he did all the other ex-Florida guys?
Because I was a Briscoe guy.
Ah, there you go. What about Herb Abrams? You worked for UWF and Herb, and there's a lot of stories about Herb Abrams. What was he like? Was he a money mark, or was he a good businessman? Or
Herb was a good man inside, but he was crazy. The story with Herb is he met a guy that I introduced him to that I wish I would have never introduced him to. And God bless him, he's dead now. He was a multi-millionaire. He ran switching companies for MCI, and I like to golf, so Ed Barbar, a friend of mine, and I and two other guys that were very good golfers won the tournament. So Tom Kenny, we got the trophy I have probably cost, I don't know, $5,000. It's pure crystal. I was told it cost $10,000, but I'd say it cost $5,000. It's just an unbelievable trophy that we all got. It was probably for all four of them, and the experience was wonderful. So I helped Tom Kenny keep him from getting his butt beat at this bar where he started the old girlfriend thing. He was barking up the wrong tree, and this guy was going to beat him up, and I made sure he didn't beat him up. And Tom liked me ever since then, and so I introduced Tom to Herb, and they were big wrestling fans. And Herb found a checkbook and a mark with some money, and just milked the guy. I mean, he spent millions on Herbie. Herbie used to write $2,000 checks, and we'd go to the fanciest of everything, and it wasn't Herb's money, he was playing with OPM, other people's money, and that's just not cool,
what are your memories of his passing?
I couldn't believe it when I heard that. I heard that he was high on cocaine, naked as a jaybird,
Yeah.
and making a disturbance, and the police came, and his face looked like he was at a Dunkin' Donut powder eating contest, powder donut eating contest, and hookers in there or whatever, and they took him to jail, and he had a heart attack in the backseat. That's
Right.
what I heard. And Herb was a character, but I love him, and God bless you, Herb. He was a good man.
Memories teaming up with Steve Keirn on the Indies.
Oh, Steve's the best. I mean, he's the best guy he ran a business for me. I know what kind of guy Steve Keirn is. Steve Keirn, I have never seen a guy work so hard mowing lawns, whatever he had to do to make a nickel when things were bad. That guy gets up every morning at 6 o'clock. He has a routine. He does not go to bed till midnight, and he's working. He works like no man I've ever seen in my life. Nobody works harder except maybe Vince McMahon and Steve Keirn.
Were you there when Beefcake had his boating accident?
Yes, I was.
What are your memories of that incident?
We were at Mike Hannis's house. We were on a beach, and we were doing this thing that I found out now is pretty dangerous. I knew it was dangerous then because I wouldn't do it. And you put the parasail, you spread it out on the back, on like the back grass on the back of Mike Hannis's porch that eventually turns to sand. Then the lake starts. He's about 200 feet out with a strong rope, and there has to be a person in the water because you've got to start running when the boat takes off. And you always have to turn to the right, and you're in water that's over your waist. So we had been doing this all day, and for some reason, Beefcake turned in instead of out, but everybody was getting aloft right away. So normally it wouldn't have mattered, and a girl named Tracy, Ed Barbara's girlfriend, saw that she was going to hit Beefcake, and so she put her knees up and tried, and bam, the knee hit Beefcake right here, smack in the face, in the front of his face, and boom, he just went down, straight underwater. And I ran out and grabbed him, pulled his head out of the water. He had already breathed the water. It was like coming out of his mouth, and this red-haired guy then jumped and he helped me, and we pulled him onto the beach, and I sat him up, and I looked at him and I said, "Beefer, Beefer, Beefer." And I was smacking him on the back, "Beefer, Beefer," but finally kind of shakes his head a little, and water falls out of him, and he goes, "Oh, oh." I said, "What?" And I'll never forget, it sounded just like that. He went, "Oh." And his jaw cracked all the way from under his nose above his teeth. So his teeth, his top teeth, were on top of his bottom teeth while his mouth was open.
Oh.
That's how bad it fractured him open.
Oh.
It was horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Thoughts on the Nasty Boys?
Brian Zaganovich is a class act man that has 3 of the most beautiful children, a gorgeous wife, a guy that any parents would be proud to have as their son. Nasty Boy would be more like Eddie Haskell. Let's see who we know that's really crazy and out of control. I love Brian Knobs, don't get me wrong. Brian is the life of any party, but when you grab the owner of Outback, who he just met, Bob Basham and Chris Sullivan, and they're in a bus. Terry's got a bus Hulkster going to this nice restaurant, and he grabs the guy in a headlock and says, they started, something was going on about wrestling, and Knobs grabs him by the hair and grabs him at the headlock. His wife's there, and he's squeezing him, and there's a guy, classy guy, and etiquette, he gets 0 minus points. Fun guy. When you know him, he's your real friend. If he's your friend, he will never ever not be your friend. He's a friend for life, and I'm glad he's my friend. He started the Mohawk trend with the Devil Rays, or with the Rays. Glad they took the devil out of the name. The Tampa Bay Rays happen to be my favorite baseball team, and I hope that Boston beat the Yankees tonight, but that'd help the Rays out. Knobs is the life of a party, but he can also be the disaster of a party.
Right.
So I've seen him in both capacities, and he's a character. I mean, there's only one Brian Knobs. He was getting ready to do a thing called Trailer Court Trash, where he would be the judge. And let's say the dog took a crap on the neighbor's lawn, and they'd get in an argument, and they'd have to go see Knobs. Well, this is still, it's not a dead thing, and he'd be the perfect judge for that show. So I hope they bring that up, and I hope he gets that opportunity. But we'll see.
How did you get involved with politics?
Jesse and I used to talk about politics all the time, when we spent 6 months together, and Jesse's a guy that's kind of changed if you want to know somebody that's changed more with the ego and stuff, because I know how much Brunsey was, so he lives in the same territory. It's almost like Hulk and I. Well,
Right.
Brunsey's there, so Jesse's gotten kind of almost gone off the. When I saw him on Leno not too long ago, it just didn't seem like the Jesse that I knew, and kind of it did, but he's a smart guy. Like I said before, working wise, he couldn't carry most of the guys' boots working wise, but him and I sold out. Bob, Bulldog Bob Brown, thank you. Bulldog Bob Brown, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, but that was the tag team partner that I talked about before. That if you see the Nasty Boys who we were just talking about, say Sterility. So he went to Malaysia and stuff with us, but that was the tag team partner. Jesse and I did an angle, and they're so used to seeing all these old guys all the time. Here, these two young guys come in, and we got over good in Kansas City territory, which was my all-time worst territory that I ever worked in my life. We had a full sold-out house, and I went in there, and every time I hit him, it was boom, boom, boom. I mean, off the charts. And Jesse, I was too stupid to let Jesse get some heat on me. I mean, I was so excited, and then Jesse was, since we started probably about the same time, was too green to stop me to get some heat on me. So when we got back, we got our fannies chewed off. I mean, Goggle and O'Connor, they were so upset because, he was supposed to, but they didn't really tell us, So, I mean, they didn't expect that reaction. They didn't expect the sold out house. They knew it was going to be a good house. They didn't expect a lot. So, they weren't really minding shop because you got two young guys. If that was Eddie Graham would have had that mapped out to where we would have understood exactly what we were doing and wouldn't have to rely on each other's knowledge at that point. And we would have been back with another sellout. The next time we came back, we had about 3/4 of a house, and it should have been standing room only.
We were talking about how you got involved in politics.
With Jesse talking about politics a lot, that was always a subject. Taxes, man, these gosh darn taxes. They hit us up for 1%. And then when I started helping kids a lot, coaching, and I wondered, how can I help people the most? And the best way to help somebody is to go out and actually be an honest politician and, be a leader that doesn't lick your finger and wonder which way the wind's going to blow. Everybody knew that I was a conservative, a hardcore fiscal conservative, I would say that I'm socially conservative, but I'd be the last one to say, let's start prohibition or something like that. I'm always open to good minds. I don't think the Republicans have the coin on the good ideas or the Democrats have the coin on the good ideas. But I'm not happy in the direction this country's going in right now. I think it's very, very sad. I think our children are going to pay for it. And I'm telling you that right now, that you're going to see, mark my words, you will see rioting on the streets of America before you die, Rob.
That's not a good thing.
No.
What about wrestling compared?
Unless there's change, the opposite change.
What would you do to change everything right now?
Well, the first thing I do is start a flat tax. The second thing I do would be to eliminate any bailouts. I'd pull back all the TARP. No more TARP money, no more bailouts, no more printing money. You can't print money. You just can't keep, as the deficit goes up and up and up, the dollar goes down and down and down, and pretty soon, the dollar's worth nothing, we're screwed. People don't realize that. They just can't get it through their head. And hey, if AIG fails, a giant bank, it's called capitalism. There's going to be somebody else to loan money. If they would have taken every one of those dollars and wrote people a check, do you know how much money? I think the figure I heard was over, you would give every family in America over $25,000 in a check for just what Barack Obama's printed.
That's crazy.
Nobody in the world, if you took from the very first George Washington to W. Bush, there has never been that much money printed during all that time, as much as he's printed right now.
As far as politics and wrestling, how would you compare the two?
Oh, it's very similar.
How's that?
It's similar in the way that you, as a baby face, you have to be liked. It's easy to be a heel. It's easy to go out there and say, here I am in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Charlotte's famous for two things: race cars and incest. And you're a heel. To go make somebody love you, you got to go out there and work for it and smile and know when to be sincere and when not to be, to be more serious. So when to be less serious, how to get people to like you is it's a art. It's a much harder to be. Anybody that's worked both ways will tell you it's much harder to be a babyface. And in politics, you have to be a babyface to get elected.
It's true. What are you doing right now as far as politics go?
I'm running for the Florida House of Representatives.
How's it going for you?
Going great.
Good. Yeah. Let's talk about recently you've been in the public about the family incident. I don't know what you want to talk about and what you can't talk about. What exactly happened there?
Got teenagers, a 17-year-old that's got a lot of testosterone in his body, and he's been doing UFC, and he told all his friends that he could beat me. He's an excellent athlete. I mean, the guy, he won 20 straight games when we went to the Nationals in 2007. He's being courted by Rollins College now for a golf scholarship, and he came in at 4:00 in the morning with a guy that he's not supposed to be with. Had my 14-year-old son with him. He's with a guy a kid that I've only known for a couple of weeks that lives in an apartment, Alex. And they're all, teenagers are teenagers. We were all bad, but I never hit my sons, and everybody knows that. I didn't have a pink spot on my knuckles. My oldest son, after I told him, I was hard on him, I'll tell you that. When he came in at 4:00 in the morning because they put stuff under their sheets, I thought they were there. They put the stuffed animals and all that, and all of a sudden the doors pushing in, and the kids are there. They come in, and I went right off on Brett. Man, this is the third time. You're not going to see daylight for 7 days. Yeah, other than taking the trash out. And you're not going to have a computer. You're not going to have a cell phone for a week. You cannot drive for a week. Yeah, I was going on, and all of a sudden, boom, something hits me in the face.
Wow.
My son hit me, and they went outside, finally came back in. My younger son called 911. You can listen to it on the YouTube or whatever. He said, my brother went crazy, and I get in the room, the 18-year-old, 15-year-old, a 14-year-old, and my 17-year-old. They're all good, big, strong kids. And I knew that when I came back into the room and he wouldn't let me in the door, that if I did get in there, he was going to try to hit me. So somebody opened the door, and sure enough, he swung at me. I put him in an arm bar, took him down, and he started screaming, Dad, you're breaking my arm. You're breaking my arm. I said, I'm not breaking your arm, but you got to calm down. You got to calm down. And he didn't calm down. And all of a sudden, somebody kicked me in the ribs. Really, really hard. And then my head started getting beat on. I started getting stomped on. I put my arms up to block me. I get black, blue, knots all over. They weren't black and blue till the next day. And police took pictures of me and they asked me if I wanted my son arrested. And I said, no, I don't want my son arrested. And we'll take care of it. And they were there for over an hour after they took the pictures of me. And all of a sudden they said, Brian, we have to arrest somebody. You don't want your son arrested. We got to arrest you. So I went downtown and it was a humbling experience. But there was 4 different stories by the kids. It was all, they should have never arrested me in the first place. It should have been called a domestic disturbance. They should have made me go by Florida statute to away from the house for 24 hours for a cool down period. And that's it. You know, if there's any other problems, you know, of course my wife would have called if there was any if I touched one of my kids, you know, she'd be the first one to go ballistic, you know, and she knows I wouldn't do that. But the state attorney dropped it 100%. It'll be expunged. So once an expungement's done, then you have the right, according to law, to say that you've never been arrested.
As far as the coverage that you guys got, were you surprised about the coverage? And do you feel that you were treated unfairly, or actually portrayed unfairly?
Well, St. Pete Times is probably the most liberal paper in the United States of America, and they treated me unfairly one time. But other than that, all the Gail Sarins from NBC Channel 8, she was awesome. You know, the Tampa Tribune, they were great. Everybody was good. They understood. They saw the forest through the trees. I mean, you don't stand there all beat up and look at those guys, and they don't have a mark on them, and you get charged with child abuse. I mean, something's wrong with that. But I guess if somebody had to go, I wouldn't trade it. You know, I still wouldn't send my 17-year-old to jail.
Everything's cool now?
Oh yeah, I couldn't see my kids for like 8 days, and tremendous attorney George Lorenzo went and sat down with the state attorney and laid it out, and they dropped everything immediately and said, just go be with your kids. And I drove down to the Keys, met him, and Brett and I stayed an extra day, came home together, and every day he sees me, you know, he hugs me, he kisses me, he says, yeah, I love you, Dad. I think it was probably one of the best things that could have happened. I'm sorry it did happen like that, but it was like, you know, when I took dip of Copenhagen, when I told my grandfather I was 10 and a half years old while I was baling hay in Arkansas down in that hot field. And I said, Grandpa, I'm 10 and a half. It's time I had a dip of that Copenhagen. He finally did after I started begging him since I was 9 years old, 8 years old. And I have never been so sick in my life, and I've never put a tobacco product anywhere near me. So if you want to cure somebody of ever smoking, give your kid a pinch of tobacco.
What are your thoughts on all the deaths of the past few years, and which in particular hit you the hardest?
I have a prayer list. Brian Adams really hit me hard. Rick Rude hit me hard. Bruce Brody. There are, you know, all the guys are. Every Sunday I think about them when I say my prayers, and it's a sad, sad thing, and I'll never forget them. Thank God they live on video. That's why everybody should make a small investment to buy these people so you can watch them live again, because you never know. Tomorrow's not promised to anyone.
What makes someone a good worker, in your opinion?
Somebody that can bring people back to see them. Somebody that has longevity. That the other participant in the ring enjoys getting in the ring with. Somebody that can bring the crowd up or down. That knows how to sell, that knows how to come back, that's got fire. You cannot do anything without fire as a babyface. Jack Briscoe told me you have got to have fire. And I believed him, I mean, and he's right. And I listened. I mean, that's the greatest thing that any of the youngsters that are watching this, just be a good listener, you know, follow wise people. You know, there's only 2 kind of people in the world, as leaders and followers. Be a leader. And that doesn't mean that, you don't be a follower that you can't follow wisdom. That's leadership, and that because someday you're going to be the leader. So, you got the choice. You can either be one of the guys 6 feet under, or you can be one of the guys that save their money and be a multi-gazillionaire like Jumpin' Jim Rumsell is.
Do you still watch The Business today?
Yes.
Who do you like to watch, and who do you think has it, the it factor?
The it factor, I honestly think one of the guys that is still to be come out of his shell that's going to be, to me, one of the greatest workers is Harry Smith.
Yep.
And I would say that right now there's a lot of guys. I mean, there's so many, but I'll name a few that I like. Is Randy Orton, I think, is one of the best guys working right now. Name a few. Let's see. I tell you, Randy impresses me the most of all the guys that are out there right now. I would say that Randy Orton is one of my favorite young guys. I mean, there's so many they're all close. The guys are close, and but he's got it all.
Do you still have a passion for the business, and what do you miss most about it?
Absolutely, I have a passion for the business. I miss the boys. I miss the crowd. I love the ability to go out there and do what I need to do to make that person enjoy themselves and get their money's worth when they buy a ticket. I love I don't like long trips on the road, but you miss, if you could work 2 days a week and make the kind of money that we made at the end of our careers, that'd be great. That'd be great. I would absolutely love that.
Favorite guys to work with, and least favorite guys?
God, that's so hard. I mean, tag team wise, probably the Bulldogs when they were Anvil and Brett. I liked working with Morocco and Orton. I liked working with probably anybody but the Sheik and Volkov. Every time I knew, and Nikolai is nothing but peaches, sweet guy. God, if I heard that Russian anthem though one time, again, I don't know if I can stand that. But he's a great super guy. I saw him not too long ago. And I would say that I wouldn't want to work. I couldn't work with the Sheik again. If I get in the ring with the Sheik again, it won't be work.
What about the incident that you did? Well, the thing for kayfabe commentary is the roast. What are your memories of the incident with Scott Hall?
I thought it was stupid. I thought his purpose was right, but you don't do that.
All right.
And I like Scotty. Scotty's and I have been friends. Have many a talk with Scott. He just came in at the wrong time. He shouldn't have been. He should have been there at that time doing what he did, but he was 100% right because Owen Hart, that's not joking. That comedian, I could have slapped him too, but you've got people there. You're in a place where you've got to control your emotions. If you don't control your emotions right there, then you can't really call yourself a consummate professional. And it was very poor taste. Very poor taste. He said something about somebody's career dropping faster than Owen Hart. And when he said that, I just felt like reaching over. I loved Owen. We had so much fun together, going to Madison Bear Gardens and all the places we traveled to. Brett just asked me to watch over him. And, for almost a year, Owen was just a blast.
Big ribber, too.
Pardon me?
Big ribber as well, right?
Oh, a great ribber. Him and I pulled some fantastic ribs together. Oh, boy.
Any funny stories you want to share?
Oh, golly, I've got so many funny stories. I'll tell you one, real quick one. And let me think if I can tell you this one first. No, I can't. Oh, shoot. Oh, Ali, I'm having a hard time here. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you. The one with Dusty.
Right.
And Andre. We're in Jackson, Mississippi. Cold day. We got to go to Greenville, 220 miles away. It just happened. The sun was shining. And Andre said for me to go get a case of beer. Dusty said, no, 2 cases of beer and you can't drink. You're driving. I said, oh, okay, whatever. And 2 bottles of Crown Royal. So 2 bottles of Crown Royal. 2 bottles of Crown Royal. So I didn't want to tell the guys that my heater was broken in my car. I had a 72 blue Lincoln Continental that I had since high school. And the Giant was in the front seat in just a T-shirt. And, Dusty had a sweatshirt on, Texas. It said Texas with the Hook 'em Horn sweatshirt.
Right.
And he says, hey, Beeper, he said, buy a cooler so we could pee in the cooler. I said, okay, Dusty, whatever you want. I went and I got all the stuff that I was commanded to get. And I get in the driver's seat and take off. And Dusty says, damn, I'm getting cold. He goes, Beeper, turn on the heater. I said, okay. And I reached over and I pulled it all the way to hot and nothing was happening. I said, yeah, something's wrong with this heater. My heater's not working. Oh, don't worry, Andre, don't worry. We don't need the heater. Oh, you crazy Giant. And they started their little thing back and forth and it was funny as heck. And we go in, have the matches and we get back and now there's snow on the ground. It's freezing. I mean, we couldn't get the ice off the windows, I remember. And I got no heater, no defroster, and it's just the cold air coming out. And Dusty's going, God damn, people, you're never going to work again. You're going to be blackballed. You got 2 of the greatest stars in America, 2 of the greatest professional wrestlers that ever donned the tights in your vehicle. And this cheap-ass vehicle ain't got no heater. What's wrong with you? You're going to be blackballed. It's a good thing I bought this little cooler. So we're driving around and they're peeing in the cooler, and Dusty's got a pee in the cooler, and somebody says something. Andre says something, and Dusty's got this cooler on his lap, and he goes forward, and Andre goes backwards because he was laughing so hard. He went like this, and the back of the seat broke, and Dusty was sitting in the middle. The cooler was on his lap, and that styrofoam cooler that was almost full broke wide open and went all over the American Dream, and he was. It was Dusty for Andre's sake. That was one of the funniest things Andre told me that he had ever seen, going up to the next week into New Orleans, where something very similar happened again. We had gone to, this time it was me, we had gone to the place in New Orleans, and there's a place where the legs come out, and the boss said that he wanted to go up there. We just ate oysters at Felix's. The Dream and I, he didn't want any oysters, and we go into this place. I could remember the platform stairs went like this. So there was a platform here, palm tree right here, and then you went up and you took a hard right and went into whatever was up there. So we're starting to go up the stairs, and boom, the electric goes out. It's pure dark, completely dark, and all of a sudden it's pitch black, and Andre goes, hold on to your wallets. And I'm getting scared now. And, I was running to go pee over at the place to use the restroom. And they made me come now. So I ran with them. So I'm waiting for the electric to come on. I'm holding my wallet. And we're at the platform, and I'm trying to feel around, and I felt the palm tree. So I'm waiting. I'm about to pee my pants. I can't hold it anymore. My kidneys were about to explode. So I went in the palm tree. Well, all of a sudden the lights come on, and I see Dusty going, God! He had his jeans tucked in his boots. God! The boss looks down. Damn! What happened? Beeper! You peed on me! God! Oh. Excuse me. He went absolutely ballistic. I mean, People, you will never, ever, ever work anywhere. You are completely blackballed. You are completely blackballed. The Giants, rolling. He sits on the step while he's laughing so hard. The Dream pulls his cowboy boot off and dumps it out, and it just comes all out. I mean, it was terrible, kicking his leg, and we were in New Orleans for the next 2 hours like that. And, anything that entertained Andre, that was good for me because God bless him, he was the best.
I got to pick up Dusty tomorrow at the airport, so I'll remind him about this.
Oh, you remind him about these stories. Oh, it's I guarantee that that's something that you won't hear too often.
Ever want to write a book?
Absolutely. I wrote a book for kids so I kept getting questioned about whatever, how do you speak Carney? What's Carney? And we had to speak Carney when we broke into the business.
Right.
We had to speak Carney. So I tried to put it into a form where everybody could learn how to speak Carney, so that would never be lost in our business. You just couldn't work. I mean, Steve Kern didn't learn Carney. Bob Orton Jr. said "Dizuk the Puzunch," and that means duck the punch. And he didn't duck, and he lost 2 teeth. So if you don't learn it, Carney was a way of survival and talking and communicating to each other, and that's where the business evolved from. So to preserve it, I thought was something important, and for the terms that gigged and the things people didn't understand, well, what is it? What does this mean? What does that mean? What does this mean? So it's like a kind of a library of, where to, but I wanted to write a real book about the stories that I'm telling you all today. And someday when time permits, I'm going to write a book. I have several pages written now that I promise will put you in stitches.
You watch UFC at all?
Yes, I do.
You like it better than wrestling, or? Obviously,
I like both.
Yeah, you can't compare it, so.
I like both. Brock Lesnar is obviously my favorite guy.
Next big thing. He's already a big thing now, but I think he's only going to get bigger.
Yes.
In closing, is there anything you want to say to your fans out there that you never had a chance to say to before?
I love you. I thank you. I know I never got a chance to say that to you. And please email me, brianblair@brianblair.com. I'll get back to you maybe a week, but I'll get back to you. I'm pretty backed up. And just thank you for all the years of support. Thank you for coming out to the Legends. Thank you for buying this video. That means a lot to me too. And it's not about the money. It's about the fact that you'll have memories that are good memories for the rest of your life. And, thank you to RF Video and Gordon Soley. I miss you. I'm sure the fans do too, and for all the wrestlers that have passed on. With those of you with faith, I hope you pray for their families and just do the best you can each day. Life is difficult sometimes. I've just been through a very, very difficult experience. We all go through them, but be glad you're vertical, and remember when you're feeling as down as you can possibly get, there's only one way to go, and that's up. Thank you.
Thanks again.